Here we go.
So we keep learning. We keep tracking. I start using that. Use it. Perfect. There's a liner out toward left. It's going to drop in for a hit.
3 minutes.
I mean, I just won my bet because the Reds went up by 2 runs. DraftKings pays you if your team goes up by 2 runs, no matter what happens.
Damn.
You could bet $10 though.
Win's a win.
Win's a win.
Runners on first and second. So the atmosphere started to heat up, and that cloud that you feel that's exactly what's happening.
You guys see Taryn Hatcher telling everybody stop being mean to Spencer?
Oh, really?
Yeah, she wore like a Twitter diatribe.
That's not going to do anything.
Of course not.
That poor guy.
2 minutes.
I think they should have Jim Salisbury do it and get rid of these stupid Ashburn Alley videos, you know?
This is good. Joe in the back, he's the one with the colorful hat. He asked, because we're at a baseball game and it's very competitive, are you competitive when you get a forecast right? Yes. Oh, absolutely. My wife gives me a hard time like it. So she said, oh my God, what happened? It's terrible what's happening. I said, no, it's in the forecast. I'm happy. She said, it's in the forecast. And the oracle is like,
Yeah, Mosher.
nice.
Yeah.
1 minute. 1 minute.
It was 90. Meteorological, there were Bill, stay with us. We go back.
30.
What's going on?
At Whitehorse RV Center. For over 50 years, families and adventurers have tried Whitehorse RV to find industry top brands and floor plans that fit their lifestyle. From travel trailers to bunk beds and outside.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Tipped in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Welcome aboard, everybody. A Wednesday edition of the Sports Bash. We're live at Ventnor Social, little Phillies day baseball. Aaron Nola on the mound, which means Phils are down early in the game. 3-1 Reds. We got you covered throughout the day. Nice day outside. People are hanging out upstairs on the deck at Ventnor Social. We're hanging inside. It's a little too hot for me to be outside there today, having the sun beat on me for 4 straight hours. But it's a great day to go outside. There's a nice breeze coming through here downstairs inside at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. I'm Mike Gill. Josh Henning is back in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios producing today's show. My on-site producer, Pete G. I got Tall Vince in the house. Vince, are you no longer intern Vince? Are you employee Vince? He's employee Vince.
Employee Vince, Tall Vince, yeah.
Tall Vince now. So he's here, and why is Tall Vince here? Well, he's got the trip to Baltimore. All you got to do is come in, see Tall Vince, and sign up. He's going to go upstairs now for the people up on the deck. And if you're upstairs on the deck, you'll get a chance to sign in. And we're giving away that trip to Baltimore, which is going to be here before we know it. Summer's here starting this weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend. This place, Ventnor Social, is going to be buzzing this weekend. It's they just had their 1 year anniversary a couple weeks ago, I guess last weekend or the weekend before, and it was packed on that day. It was a Saturday afternoon. The Ventnor Block Party was going on. This place was jumping. And, today a little Phillies day game baseball. It's only the third inning, so you got time to come on out and check us out. But Tall Vince will be here all day with the box. You can put your name in the box, and you can enter to win. Now, remember, you can put your name in the box as many times that you want each time we're here. So if you've already came out here and put your name in the box, that's one entry. You can come back again today, and that would be a second entry. Now, we've been here 3 times, so if you've been here twice, and I don't know that there was any repeat customers the first time we were here. I don't know if we had anybody do it the first time and then the second time. But if you've already put your name in the box once or twice, you can do it a third time, and then the next time we're here on June 4th, you can put it in again. So the more times you show up here to Ventnor Social and hang out and get yourself a nice cold frothy bev, and I would go with the chicken cutlet, broccoli rabe, sharp provolone. That's the sandwich.
That's your favorite here.
That's what you got to go with.
Yep.
It's a newbie on the schedule. On the menu. It'll be what I go with today. You?
You know, I usually like to get the apps here because there's a lot to choose from.
Yeah.
So I like to switch it up a little bit. But I might go with a little entree. I might fill my gut up here a little bit here.
Well, we got a great day today. It's beautiful out on the island. I will say this. It's not quite Memorial Day weekend yet, but the traffic is suggesting otherwise. It is.
As is the weather.
Yeah, it is crowded on the streets. Be careful if you're driving around. You're starting to see just more people getting a little liberal with the car.
Oh,
pulling
really?
out front, making moves, trying to, maneuver themselves around town here. It's getting a little crazy out there.
They don't care. I mean, they're just in their own little world. They don't care.
They don't. NBA last night, epic choke job. Now, did you watch Phillies or NBA last night?
Oh, I went NBA.
Wow. No Phils.
Well, I mean, the Phils, they just weren't doing much. They had 3 hits. Didn't have a hit since the third inning, since Trey's homer.
They didn't have a hit from the third inning on, yeah.
So I said, you know what? I know how this story's going to end. And so I switched over to the basketball.
Okay, well, I went basketball. I was going back and forth, but I was primarily Phils. Because even though they didn't have a hit, the game was still close. Good pitch game last night.
Luzardo, yeah, he did good.
Yeah, looked like the good Luzardo was back. Just couldn't hit, and they can't hit so far today. Although, no, I can't say that. They do have a run in 3 innings, so they already scored. But it's Aaron Nola. They've given up 3 runs already. Now, I wasn't here yet. I was driving over here, and I missed the 3 runs. What happened?
Just base hits. No long balls, which is good. I mean, it's an improvement from Pittsburgh.
No Nola long balls, yeah.
Right, so just the base hits. Hanging in there, I guess.
Well, listen.
But again, you're not going to win many games if you can't score more than one
No Schwarber
run.
again today.
Uh-huh.
He's out with the illness. They got Adolis Garcia hitting in the 2-hole today.
That's kind of kooky for me, but, put him ahead of Bryce, I guess. Maybe that gets him going.
Bowman, the 4-hole. Keeping that there. He's been scorching hot. But today we got Phillies Fastball Postgame edition. Oscar and Geoff will join me right around 4:30 today. When this game ends, those guys will jump on and we'll recap this game here live from Ventnor Social, our Ventnor Social Phillies Fastball segment. Mike McGarry is going to join us tonight at 5:30 live from Citizens Bank Park. So once the game ends, he's going to go in the locker room, get all the interviews and everything, and then he'll join us. We'll recap this series here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. We've also got, I do want to talk a little bit about the game tonight, Wemby. So I was thinking about this. Wembayama right now. Now, Josh, you asked me a question the other day about, what was the exact question about 5 players that are like aliens or something? What was the question?
So the question I presented to you was, we obviously know that Wembayama is a freak, right? He's just some alien type player. So if he's one of the 5 most freakish alien players you've ever seen play basketball, who are your other 4? Like, I've assumed for someone like you would say Joel Embiid.
So when you asked me this question, I was just kind of like, at first I thought you were indicating guys who were like, when you said like freakish type, would be guys that are like, because of their height.
No, I've been freaks in terms of like what they were, like their ability to do what they do in the basketball court.
Right, exactly. So when you asked me that the other day, though, I incorporated it with height. Like,
Gotcha.
You know, a guy who's 7 foot. How big? Wembanyama's like 7'4".
Yeah, he's
right?
7'4".
But the thing that makes him nuts is he's 7'4", but he has the skills of a guard. I mean,
Right.
he's 7'4" and can be Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, for God's sakes.
Steph Curry from the logo.
Crazy.
Late in the 4th there.
That was nuts.
Or overtime it was.
So, I mean, none of us are old enough to see, like, Wilt Chamberlain.
Right.
And I was very young when Kareem played. Like, I saw Kareem in, like, the mid-'80s. He was kind of a shell of himself.
Yeah, he was past due at that point.
Like, Wemby got to be the closest thing to those two guys' dominance that we've ever seen. There's not another player of that height, 7'4", but he surpasses even those guys because Chamberlain didn't shoot. Kareem didn't shoot. This guy's Steph Curry at those guys' size. I mean, he's bigger than those guys height-wise. So, I don't know. I think right now what we're witnessing in these Western Conference Finals is the beginning of the next great historic player that we've ever seen. You guys agree with that?
I mean, this is his coming out party because he was out last year. He had that injury, so we didn't really see him much.
The blood clot last year.
Yeah, the blood clot. This is, I mean, he's arrived now. I mean, what he is able to do in game 1, we'll see if he can repeat it for the next several games here, but this is his coming out party.
Well, he's only 22 years old. Keep that in mind, number one. And number two, this is something that I think the Spurs need to be given credit for. You know, Wembanyama plays all the time. He doesn't, like, sit out of games, but, no, he got hurt this year, and he missed, like, 20 games. But when he plays, they still play him every game, but they keep his minutes down. He only averages 29 minutes a night.
And that was one of the conversations at the end of the year is he had to average a certain number of minutes to qualify for the All-NBA awards. And they were joking at the end of the year, and Wemby would be like, I wanted to play more, but coach said I only could play 29 minutes.
Yeah, so he played 29 minutes a game. But isn't that like something that the Sixers could try to do with like Joel Embiid?
You
like
would
maybe
think.
take the Spurs model and say, hey, listen, we want you to play. We don't want you to load manage and not play in games. We think that's hurting you as well. We want you to play, but let's just manage your minutes a little bit. Like, you don't have to play 38 minutes every single time you come out. Maybe you play 31 minutes. Maybe you play 28 minutes. You know,
like Mattingly last night sitting JT.
I love what Mattingly.
Let's load manage JT a little bit here. Why not?
Well, I've been asking for this for years.
He doesn't have to catch every game.
And that's what he said. Now, I wonder how much of this – keep this in mind, everybody. Don Mattingly's son is his boss. And we have often opined and have been told by multiple people that, hey, listen, the front office has a big say in the lineup and who plays and who bats where and yada, 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 all that stuff. That we know, right? Your son is your boss. Do you think dad says to son, hey, kid, stop putting Real Muto in the lineup every day. I'm going to sit him because we don't need him to play every single day. He's 35 years old. You just signed her with 3 years. Oh, that ball's off the fence, by the way. We don't need him to play every single day. Let's preserve him, and you just sign him to a 3-year, $45 million contract. If you want this guy to have anything left in the tank in year 3, you can't play him 145 games a year.
And that I don't think Topper's doing that, right? He didn't do it, so I don't think he would do it like Mattingly's done it.
Well, one of the things is that you have Topper, when he's in charge, though, having Real Muto at a younger age. And I think they neglected the fact that, hey, we don't need him to play every single day. But they didn't really have a serviceable backup catcher situation, so I think they just kept riding him because he was younger. Now you got a guy 35 years old who had gone through the rigors, and here's the problem. You haven't upgraded the backup catcher position.
Yeah.
Through all this time, you still have the same two jamokes backup catching. And I think that's one thing. Two, so I do think what you guys said, and Pete, you brought it up, that Mattingly just kind of saying, hey, listen, we got to preserve this guy. We don't need him to play every single day. And he's not wrong. They don't need JT Realmuto to play every single day. And that's not the difference in them winning and losing games every single day. The big picture, is he the difference in them maybe winning a World Series? Sure. You want him to play every game in the playoff series. But do you need him to play every single night 162? Probably not. So that's something that I definitely hope that they continue on, and I think they will. I think Mattingly in the front office realizes now that they have to rest JT Realmuto. Now, he's not playing today because it's a day game after a night game.
No, he is in there today.
Well, he didn't play yesterday.
He didn't play yesterday.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't play yesterday.
But
so
probably didn't play yesterday with the anticipation that he was playing today, right, Mike?
Well, and I wonder if they wanted him to catch for Nola.
Well, so far it's not working too well.
Nothing seems to be working for Nola.
And I mean, Mattingly and Topper, there's not much difference, but you can pinpoint some differences between how Donnie Baseball is running things and Topper.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you could see that this team is. Listen, I definitely think the team had a wake-up call. They got punched in the face when this season started. They weren't playing well. Christopher Sanchez wasn't pitching well. They didn't have Zach Wheeler. Bohm was hitting 150.
And then Donnie gives him that 2-day benching or reset, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and he starts to be a little bit better. Is Topper doing that? I'm not sure. I don't know.
Don't know.
And they're sitting Justin Crawford a little bit now.
Well, they've been sitting Crawford against lefties. Marsh has been playing against lefties. This is all a big thing. Like, we were talking about this yesterday. Why is Marsh all of a sudden getting the opportunity against lefties?
To play every day, right?
Well, yes, to play every day. He's in the lineup today. Crawford is not. Now, Crawford has a better history against lefties, but at the minor league level, Marsh has been terrible against lefties, but everybody's been clamoring for Marsh to play against lefties. Well, now you're getting your wish, and we'll see if it ends up working for them.
So the platoon now is Marsh in center, and then the Felix Reyes and Otto Kemp.
Well, Reyes is gone, right?
He's gone, but Otto Kemp is he's playing today, right?
Yeah, Kemp's in left field today. What's your question?
I was going to ask you because Pete kind of hinted at this. I wanted to see if you would expound upon it. Mike, do you feel like Don Mattingly being the manager now, maybe he's a guy in that meeting with the front office to make the lineup, and maybe they're giving him a little bit more of a latitude to have an opinion than Thompson did?
Listen, I have to imagine when your kid's the boss, that conversation's a little different than the conversation with Thompson. Don't you agree?
I would think so, but I think it's also because he's Don Mattingly. I think there's a part of it where this guy is a guy who some people believe should be a Hall of Famer.
Well, and that's another interesting question.
Well, that's the Nick Castellanos thing.
That's another interesting question, though. So we all know before the game they meet, Dombrowski, Mattingly, and the manager. In the past, right? It was Thompson.
Right. By the way, it's 4-1 Reds now.
Yeah.
That was
Shocker.
that
was a dribbler.
Little inside on the hands, bang.
Phillies don't have a hit, by the way.
They do have a run somehow. How'd they score without a hit?
The Reds have
There's two errors,
I think. Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, so before, when they were putting lineups together before the game, their meeting before the game, is Mattingly in on those conversations, or is it just Dombrowski, Preston Mattingly, and Thompson?
Probably not. Probably not in that meeting, right?
So when they're talking about lineups every day, maybe Don Mattingly's not in that room with the three of them, and they're throwing their ideas around and they're looking at the analytics. One of the things that Oscar said yesterday on Phillies Fastball is that, when Thompson was here, the organization was very much by the book. Like they basically – and look, last night Rob Thompson, same thing. Tanner Banks is pitching against the lefty. When the righty came in, they brought in Bolin, and, they pretty much – every team does that. They're not going to let a lefty face a right-handed batter. That's just not happening. So they do things by the book still. But my question is, when they have these pregame discussions to map out the game plan, Mattingly might have different stuff to interject than Thompson did. Like, here's the lineup we're going to go with today. What do you think, Skip? Hey, guys, I think Marsh has faced lefties 3 times in a row. Maybe we should give him the day off against the lefty today and let Crawford play. Something to that effect. I don't know. We'll see. I think this is very fluid. And how much, we have to compensate for. Marsh has been really good right now, and there's not a really good option for him. So it might be just like, you know what, we don't really have another option. Let's give him another chance here because he's earned it by playing so well. Does that make sense?
And Garcia really has not. I mean, defensively, he's been such an upgrade. We know that. He's saved some runs over the past few games, but at the plate, man, he is just not.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
Put it plain and simple, he's been terrible.
All right, so that's where we start today. We got Nuggets on the way. We're going to get into everything. We got Knicks last night, epic choke job by the Cavs. You got Wemby tonight, Spurs Thunder. I mean, right now, do we think the Spurs are actually better than the Thunder are? We'll get into all that, plus no Schwarber today. Phillies fastball right after the game today. That's all coming up on the Sports Bash live from Ventnor Social. This hour of the show, it's brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Listen, you got to get a better game plan than Aaron Nola does today to take on the insurance companies, because if you get injured in a car accident, a slip and fall, or whatever it may be, you got to have someone who knows how to handle the tough cases. And that's Craig A. Altman. Craig Altman is there in Delsey Drive in Vineland to help you in South Jersey. Backed by a Philly law firm that knows how to win. Learn more about how you can have a better game plan than Aaron Nola when you get injured by going to CraigAltmanLaw.com.
That's 2 times Aaron Nola got shrapnel there. He got thrown under the bus not once but twice by Craig A. Altman. All right, back with the Nuggets. Earnshaw joins us coming up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
And if you're not down with that, we got 2 words for you.
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
Do I have everybody's attention now?
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, we're live at Ventnor Social. Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Live Phillies watch party. Come on out, watch the Phils with us. We'll have the Phillies Fastball Postgame coming up right around 5 o'clock. Right at 5 o'clock, I should say. Right now, it's time for the Nuggets. Earnshaw's back with a holiday edition of the Nuggets. He's going away, so we won't have Nuggets tomorrow. We'll probably have jerky tomorrow. We'll see how that all works. Earnshaw is here for today's edition of Nick's Nuggets on the Sports Bash. What's going on, Nick?
I will not be world traveling like you, but I will be going down to the Sunshine State, getting my sunshine, getting my summer tan on this Memorial Day weekend. I'm looking very much forward to it. I'm doing nothing. I'll tell you what, I'm doing absolutely nothing. I'm going to sit on a beach and fall asleep. I got my Madden Sumerall booked for the plane, and I'll be ready to go.
I like it. Well, I'm going away this weekend as well. I'm getting out of the craziness. I don't want to be anywhere near, although it's supposed to be crappy weather all weekend long here and on the East Coast. So I hope it rains profusely and everybody has a terrible washout.
Yeah, I do too. I hope it rains up here while I'm away down in Florida. The weather looks good for me. I'm just saying, the weather looks good for me. I'm going to be down there on a beach, chilling out. I might get a couple of ballparks off the list too. Might drive over to Miami. I'm thinking about Fort Myers, a little Twins single A action. I'm scoping out the ideas down there. I'm going to be on Do Not Disturb the entire time, so don't bother me. Yeah, if you want to DM me, anything like that, do not bother me. I don't want to be bothered.
At Nernshaw Radio, hit him up.
It's right here. You can see it behind me, too. All right, let's get into the Nuggets. Enough of this nonsense because I'm thrilled to get out of here. We got to start with the game ones of the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. All right. Listen, the NBA needed this badly because these two games have been unreal. So you had the Spurs and Wembanyama the other night against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And then last night, oh, my gosh, that game.
Epic choke job.
Oh, my gosh. That was one of the – like, if I were a Sixers fan, and we've seen some doozies in this area with the 76ers. That choke job by the Cleveland Cavaliers and James Harden last night was unreal. So I'm like half asleep. I'm trying to stay awake, watching the whole thing. And I just couldn't believe how Jalen Brunson just kept going right at James Harden, right at James Harden, right at James Harden, over and over and over again. And according to ESPN Insights and ESPN Analytics, the Knicks' probability in last night's game was as low as 0.1%. Teams trailing by 22 points in the fourth quarter of a playoff game since the 97-98 season were 1-594 entering last night's game, Mike. I mean, that game was unreal. I hate that the Knicks won it. I hate it. But, man, what a choke job by Cleveland.
Epic choke job. 7 minutes left, 22-point game, and you can't close that deal out. You know, that game early on, it just looked, man, the Cavs have the formula here. They're pounding you inside. They're beating you up in there. Yeah. They are doing everything right. And then all of a sudden, 93-71, 7:40 left to go, a 44-11 run. It's an epic choke. And then after the game, Atkinson says, you know, I like to keep my timeouts. I like to hold on to those things. Well, you know, I'm not a big like, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. There are many ways to skin the cat. But in this situation, yo, guys, we just need to settle back down, man. You've let this thing get out of hand. No doubling of Brunson. By the way, Brunson hits like 5 or 6 just off-the-wall shots that makes him just one of the big shot makers in the game right now. Harden, awful. What are the Cavs doing? You know, running everything through Harden. They're taking threes. They're settling for 3 after 3 after 3. You know, and then late in the game, you're up 4, the Cavs are, and a horrible foul by Karl Anthony Towns. Yep. And you figured, okay, now they're back up to 6.
Yep.
Boom, right back at you, big shots. And look, the Knicks right now, we thought about it. Hey, you had all that time off. That was a game. And now the problem is, conversely, for the Cavs, teams that come off that Game 7 high win generally don't win that next game. But you had this weird dynamic of them coming off the win, a team that was overly rested, and then the Knicks just looked like the better conditioned team late in that game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that third quarter for the Cavs was unbelievable. They outscored the Knicks 35-23. You thought, all right, they're pretty much in control of this game, but this is today's NBA. No lead is safe ever, unless it's, the Knicks beating you by 40 if you're the Sixers. Other than that, every lead is safe. Or no lead is safe, I should say.
By the way, and James Harden, 6 turnovers again.
Yeah.
I mean, just an epic.
And where was Donovan Mitchell in the last 5-6 minutes of that game?
How many times Mitchell got to the foul line last night? One. One time Donovan Mitchell gets to the foul line. You can't have it. You have to, when that game is starting to get away from you like that, you have got to get yourself to the foul line, stop that clock, and just kind of settle everybody back. Like the foul line is like a resetter. It's like, okay, guys, relax, deep breath. Let's get some points here and settle back down. You're just settling for long threes. Just a terrible, it's one of the worst 7 minutes and 40 seconds you'll ever see.
Well, Kenny Atkinson refusing to call timeout. I mean, you got to stop the bleeding somewhere, some way, dude. I just don't get it. And how about Landry Shamet hitting the big shot?
That's one of those spots where you say, yeah, I do put a little blame on the coach there, where you have a chance to kind of settle. Like we always talk about, what's the coach's roles? Hey, you got to set the tone, the pace, the culture, all that stuff. And when the game and the pace is getting away from you, it's your job to now reset the pace and stop this thing. They were a wagon, the Knicks were, and all of a sudden they are up 1-0 over the Cavs.
Yeah, nothing worse than a "Let's Go Knicks" chant here and that in the background of the garden.
I got to tell you, that Knicks crowd was electric. It makes you feel like, hey, I wanted to be there. And I said, I'm cheering for the Knicks. I don't hate this Knicks team. I love watching Brunson play. You know why? That dude's a gamer, man. That dude is a straight-out gamer, and I have no hate towards that guy. I love watching him play. Look, the Knicks have been bad my whole life. There's no reason to hate that team other than where they're geographically located. Who cares? That team is fun, and they got a baller on that team. I'll cheer for Brunson over that loser Harden any day of the week.
This is why I don't make bets, and I advise everyone not to make lifetime pacts. If the Knicks win, I have to go to the parade and wear a Knicks jersey, right? I have a lifetime pact with one of my buddies from middle school.
I don't think you have to worry about it. I don't think anybody's beating the Spurs or the Thunder.
I don't think so either, but I'm on the edge a little bit right now. I'm a little nervous. I can't lie. I don't want to go to that parade. By the way, Jalen Brunson, according to the Real App, has more 35-point playoff games than 99.7% of all NBA players in NBA history. I mean, that's just unreal.
Yep. I listen, Brunson, for me, I'm cheering for Brunson. I think that dude's a gamer, a baller.
He is.
And I have no hate towards that guy. Nothing.
I wish that guy was a 76er, man. You just wish that guy was on your. You hate him when he's playing against you because he's just an absolute dog. But then I can't cheer for him. I can't cheer for the New York Knicks. It's like Cowboys and then New York Knicks for me. Cowboys, Knicks.
The difference is, don't get sucked into what everybody else tells you.
I've hated the Knicks for years. This is nothing new. This is nothing new with me.
I'm just saying, people say, oh, it's New York, so I have to. They haven't been good in your life. They've never been good. So what makes you hate them?
Because if they win, I have to go sit there and listen to their nauseating fans. Their fans are the worst. I can't stand listening to their fans. They are so obnoxious.
I understand that their fans are obnoxious. Part of the being obnoxious is because they've never been good and they yearn to be good. But they have never been good for you to be like,
and they should stay that way. They should stay miserable.
On the other hand, my generation, they were good when I was in high school. So you got a lot of these people who jumped onto them because they were winning Super Bowls in the 90s when I was in high school. So there is some reason to say you're a bandwagoner, dude. Those Knicks fans are real fans. They have stuck with that team, and they have stunk.
And they're from New York. Everything. I don't like New York. I don't like the Mets. I don't like anything New York. I don't like anything. I don't have
any problem. I don't have any problem with any regional stuff. Do you like? I don't like New York because of where it is. Who cares? The Knicks have nothing. They've given you no reason to hate that team. They're a bunch of good, hard-playing guys. The fact that they're geographically located right there means nothing other than, hey, it's a fun rivalry when they play against each other. But overall, They have not been good in my life. I have never seen the Knicks. They went to the finals like in the strike lockout season. They went to the finals in like 99. Yeah. Those Ewing teams were good, but they never won a title.
Nope.
So I've never seen the Knicks win a title in my life.
Yeah. They took over the Sixers building. That's more than enough for me. It's more than enough for me. It was nauseating being in that building multiple times when they took over.
Last night, I would have loved to have been in that building. That place was rocking.
One day, I posted on my story last night on Instagram. It was the Office meme with Steve Carell. One day, the Sixers will get to enjoy a Eastern Conference Finals.
I don't know that that's going to happen, man. I don't know. Not in my lifetime. I'm not sure about that.
You might be long gone. I might be hanging on threads.
Well, I'll tell you, because after watching Game 1 of the Spurs Thunder and how good those two teams are and how young both those two teams are, look, the Spurs, that team is going to be around for 10 years, if not longer.
A long time. That team's going to be around a long, long time. All right. Yeah. Moving along. All right. Titans lost last night. No Schwarber. He's been a little under the weather. See, he's taking some sick time. There's nothing wrong with taking some sick time if you're Kyle Schwarber. Kyle Schwarber earned some sick time. All right? So let's move along. Dave Schofield put out a great article, and it was titled, Will Phillies Kyle Schwarber Join the 60 Home Run Club? He laid out some great stats. Schwarber is just the 18th player in MLB history, at least 20 home runs through the team's first 49 games, in the first since Josh Hamilton hit 20 in 2012. And it was a really good read. So it got me thinking, Mike, we saw Aaron Judge hit 60 a couple years ago. Obviously during the Bonds, McGarry thing, it was the chase. We know June Schwarber, he's gone on streaks before, but then we've seen Schwarber go really cold. Is it feasible for him to have an even better year than last year and hit that 60 home run mark this year? I think it's very possible for him this year.
Not going to write it off by any stretch. I mean, one of the big stories when he signed was, are you paying this guy for past performance? Because there was probably no way he was going to hit 58 home runs again. So you're like, hey, you're paying this guy, which, look, everybody said you got to bring Schwarber back, but it was like, now you're paying him, and what if he only hits 50 home runs or 48 home runs? Well, now he's on pace to hit about 60 home runs, and I'm not holding it against that he would hit 60 home runs. I mean, the way that he's going right now, 5 years, 150 feels like a pretty good deal. Now, we'll be seeing what we're talking about 3 years from now when he's still got, 2 years left on that deal. Like a lot of these Phillies, you're like, whoa, they still got a lot of years left on the deal. But, I wouldn't be when he came up the other day and they showed his home runs, I'm like, feels like the season just started and he's already at like 20. I mean, it's crazy. But he's on a heater right now.
Yeah, he is. And listen, it makes you wonder, right? So is Kyle like we've talked about the Hall of Fame before, and we talked about multiple players. Is it really turning into the Hall of Very Good? I feel like Schwarber's an interesting case, especially when you look at how many home runs he has in his career, right? So you go down the list of how many home runs. He has 360. He needs 40 more home runs to hit 400 home runs for his career.
Right.
I mean, it's very possible. He's on a 5-year deal with the Titans. He's 33 years of age right now. He could hit that 500 mark. Does he have to hit 500 to get and make a better Hall of Fame case for himself?
Good question. Now, of course, he's not in the lineup again for this game today. He's out for the third straight game, so he's not getting a homer.
That's more
today.
than me. That's more. That's 3 sick days. I took 2 in a row.
If he gets, he's at 360 right now. He's got 5 more years on the deal. So, his average home runs a year is 44 home runs is what he averages.
And if he bats first or second, he's going to get more at bats. Like Schwein wants to take at bats away from him.
He sounds like an idiot. He really does. But 44 home runs a year for the next 5 years, that would give him 220 home runs. And you add that to the 360 he has, and that would be 580 home runs. So he is well on pace to go over 500 home runs. So if he gets to that clip, I guess, I don't know. This will be interesting. How is the Hall of Fame going to start judging this new era of players whose batting averages are not very good? Schwarber's a .231 career hitter. That's a terrible batting average. But in today's world, the batting average doesn't matter as much.
Nope.
But in the Hall of Fame world, it's hard to – I don't know what the lowest batting average is in the Hall of Fame. That I have to look up. And
I'm very curious. He doesn't even have 1,000 RBIs. Like, he's going to have to get 1,000 RBIs, and with the home runs, that'll come. He's at a little over 800 right now.
Yeah, he'll get there.
I think he'll get there. He's a very interesting case overall. Like, the home runs would get him there. I think if you get 500 home runs, I think you should probably get in.
Yeah, if he hits 500, I think he's going to get in. Now, and he should hit 500 if he stays on the same, and that's only hitting 44 home runs a year.
So the lowest batting average of any position player elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame is 253. Chicago White Sox catcher Ray Schalk.
Yep. 253 is still 20 points higher than Schwarber.
I feel like you're going to start seeing that a lot more, though.
But by the way, the modern era player, Bill Mazeroski, is a 260 lifetime. And now he's not in the Hall of Fame for his batting. He's more in there for his defense.
Yeah.
And he has the biggest home run in baseball history. But he was a, Gold Glove to the maximum defensive player. So his 260 batting average is still 30 points higher than Schwarber.
Yeah, this era's cases are going to be interesting. Now, if Schwarber hits 400, he's going to hit for 400, I think. That's probably a given at this point. Is your case, his case, I don't think he gets in if he's only at 400 home runs.
Yeah, but that's only 40 more home runs between now and 5 years.
I know, but does he get in with 400? I don't know.
You mean in the 400s?
Yeah, if he hits like 437 home runs, is he in the Hall of Fame? I don't think he has a strong enough case. 500, I think you got to get in.
500, I think he's definitely in. In the 400s would be interesting because of the low batting average.
Yeah, and then how many RBIs, all that type of stuff. He's going to be a fascinating player to watch. Like, what ballot would he get in? That's another interesting aspect of this whole thing.
Well, and keep in mind, he's won World Series, too.
He does have a ring.
He does not have an MVP yet, but he was second in the MVP. So we'll see if he gets one over the next 5 years. I mean, right now, I don't know. Let's check out I got to check the numbers on where.
I think Shohei's in the lead. I would say Shohei's probably in the lead for MVP.
He's always in the lead, but
I don't.
If he's having a year where he's so far out ahead, like where it's like not even a question.
He might win both. Could he win the Cy Young and the MVP? You don't know. He could. I mean, that's very possible, and I think MLB would like to play that up a little bit.
Probably.
So, all right. Final nugget before I get out of here. Did you see what was going on the broadcast last night? Yesterday we talked about Bryson Stott dropping an F-bomb on the postgame show. No one wants to talk about it. How about all those kids?
Now, I saw this. Josh showed it to me after we talked about this yesterday.
Okay.
It was pretty.
It was close.
It was close, but it wasn't like definitive.
But he kind of caught himself.
Yeah, he caught himself.
I thought he got it off, but it was close. It was right at the buzzer. But anyway, did you see how
Schwarber's plus 1,200 and Ohtani is minus 350?
Oh God, it's not even close. Not even close. I don't know if you saw. When teams are down, usually do the inside out cap, the rally cap, etc. Did you see the whole group taking off their shirt and waving it around to try and get the Phillies to come back? That was a new one for me for the rally.
Well, it was because it was raining, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, I'm out on that one. We don't need the shirts off for the rally. Just go the rally cap, all right? Stick with the rally cap. That's a great tradition.
I'm okay with that. I think it was just because it was raining last night, and hey, the shirt's getting a little wet. They were showing people on the broadcast trying to put the parka on, having some trouble there. By the way, Ohtani this year is hitting 272 with 7 homers and 25 RBI. Those are not MVP numbers.
He's still gonna get it because it's Shohei Ohtani.
Just saying, the fact that Schwarber has 20 homers, he's got 7, and it's not like Schwarber's batting average isn't completely garbage. I mean, he's at least hitting 230, which for him is decent. It's not Ohtani's not having this eye-popping start to the season yet.
Not yet, but I'm sure it'll come along. He could win both.
My
Who
point
knows?
on that is good time to get in on Schwarber at plus 1,200. By the way, Ohtani's OPS is 953. Schwarber's OPS is 980. So Schwarber's got him beat there.
Yep.
624 slug for Schwarber, 473 for Ohtani.
This is the time.
Yeah, Schwarber's on base is 357. Ohtani's is 399. So he's got it better there. He's got a better batting average. But Schwarber's got him in home runs. Ohtani's got 25 ribbies, and Schwarber has 36 ribbies.
I need Schwarber in the home run derby. That has to happen.
Now, what is Schweim? You got to ask Schweim, where does he think Ohtani should hit? No, Ohtani's a guy that hit 55 homers last year. Where should he hit?
He's going to have him batting cleanup too. So,
Well, you know what, Schweim is the guy. You ever see that thing on like Facebook or social media that has the lineup of where every kid plays? It's like, the kid that plays right field is like this guy. That is Schweim's lineup. He's still going off of that graphic.
Yeah, he doesn't care. I tried explaining it to him on Saturday. I've explained it to him in the past why it's a good thing to have him lead off.
Yeah, well,
and the win pace.
Explaining things that make sense are he has a hard time with stuff that actually makes sense.
I know. I tried on Saturday. Maybe when I get back, maybe he'll turn a new leaf by the time I get back. All right.
Well, I did hear that he eventually tapped out and said, well, they shouldn't move him.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I would bring up a good point, he changed the subject. We'd start talking Flyers or something. You go right to the other thing because I had him.
Hey, listen. If anything, the lineup should be Schwarber, Harper should be 1 and 2 so that those guys get the most at bats all the time.
I'm very much, my stance. I'm very much a proponent of leadoff Schwarber. Very much.
Hey, listen, there was a long time where I was in the camp of not number 4, but the number 3 hole hitter should be your best hitter because 1 and 2 were guys that were on base a lot, and then 3 came up with a lot of RBI opportunities. That now has kind of changed over to I want my best guy having more at bats as opposed to him batting third because like the other night against the Pirates, you didn't bring this up on Saturday morning when you guys were going back and forth. Schwarber never came up to bat to hit the home run if he was hitting in the 4 hole.
Totally right about that. That you were totally right. He would have never gotten that at bat. Yeah, I've always been a proponent. They win a lot of games. They're on pace for 90-plus wins when he leads off. They went to a World Series when he led off. Just saying.
They've also went to a World Series with Schwarber playing left field. So
exactly. No.
How about putting him back out in the outfield? And
Why not?
Getting another bat in this lineup.
Throw him out there. Now, we want him to get to 500, get him as many at-bats as possible, no injuries, keep him there.
Hey, listen, right now they need to find a right-handed bat that can hit somewhere in the middle of the lineup. That's what they need. They don't need to put Schwarber 4 because then you're going to say, well, then we don't have a guy to hit number 2.
And then he was
moving the pieces around to constantly plug a hole.
And Schweim was putting Marsh, and then he was putting Harper
I heard him
and Schwarber.
3 straight lefties. Yeah, he had 3 straight lefties back to back to back, which I don't think that's going to work out very well in a playoff situation where you're facing tough lefties, bullpen guys coming in, teams that stack their lefties against you. You can't bat 3 guys back to back to back left-handed.
Can't do it. All right, Mike, I am out of here. See ya. I'll see you like in 2 weeks.
All right, there you go.
I'll see you at the LPGA. That's the next time I'll be back. That's what I'll be back.
Nuggets will be live at the LPGA. We're going to be there Friday next week. Next Friday, the 29th, we'll be over at the LPGA and stop out and see us there. We're live today at Ventnor Social. Stop on out. We got the Phillies Fastball Postgame show coming up at 5 o'clock right here on the Sports Bash. All right, Nick. Thanks, man.
Later.
All right, check out the Sports Bash live at Ventnor Social. And, of course, go see my guys over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Rocco and the team, they're waiting for you right now through May 31st. The month is flying by. You can lease a brand new sporty 2026 Acura Integra for $199 a month down for, just $199 a month for 36 months. Get the Key Acura Tilton Road, Egg Harbor Township, and see what all the excitement is about. Key Acura, the small but friendly dealer. See dealer for details when we come back. We got so much more to go here at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. All right, live here at Ventnor Social. And by the way, of course, right when we go to the break, Bohm comes up and hits the homer. Now 5-2.
Bohm bomb.
Phillies, a Bohm bomb, bottom 6. He's got an 11-game hit streak, by the way. We're going to talk more Bohm and Phils and more on the other side. I got a text message that says, I've always wondered how guys with absolutely no sports knowledge get to the point of hosting a sports talk radio show. I think he needs to be more specific. Is he talking about me, Earnshaw, Schweim, Josh, you? Who are you referring to there? Could be all 4 of us? All 5 of us?
Probably. Yeah.
Well, if he be more specific, we can answer the question better.
Earnshaw is really leaning into that Philly versus everybody.
Saturday, somebody else texted in. Earnshaw's right, F New York.
We should they're all Nova guys. Brunson, he's like the
Hey,
best
I said
player.
I don't have any hate towards the team. I like the way they play. Brunson's turned it into one of my favorite players in the league. Stick around. Got some Phil's conversation next. All right, hour 2 of the show. We're live at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Phil's a couple home runs, 5-4, a Bohm bomb.
Bohm bomb. And then we saw a Sosa bomb.
Edmundo. Now, Sosa's playing third today. Bohm's at first. Harper's DHing. We're going to get into all this. What's the turnaround in Bohm? We're going to get into the turnaround in Stott. I want to get into we got a 20-game sample size. This is game 21. The Phillies are 16-4. And Dave Gallagher played 9 years in the majors, 7 different teams. One of those years he played with the Phillies, and we're going to get his thoughts on the impact. He's played, Dave, I imagine, for a lot of different managers over your time, and the value and what the manager brings to the success of teams. Let's get into that as we have this conversation with former Major Leaguer Dave Gallagher.
Well, I really do think there's a Mattingly effect. I do. And I'll try to make my case. When I come on your show, I try to give your listeners maybe a point of view that they don't typically see, or maybe they can watch games a little different. So I think there's the obvious reasons that there was a turnaround that wouldn't have mattered if it was Don Mattingly or Don Smith. There's a favorable schedule. We knew that. I think back to the comments that Bryce Harper made after the change. I think some fans took it the wrong way. I'll be close with this. I'll paraphrase, but he said something about, we were all in here, and it's kind of sticky in the clubhouse. We're all waiting for the shoe to drop. And I think some people took that as he wanted the manager fired, which obviously none of them did. But I think what he meant, and I've been through 2 of them, is it's like a snowball rolling downhill. Once it starts, you push it away. Starts with small conversations when you're stretching down the line before a game. Hey, we better start hitting, or we're going to cost the manager his job. And then it builds up. Then a writer comes into the locker room and asks somebody, do you think Rob's job is on the line? And you push it back. No, it was our fault. That's how it rolls. And then you lose, you start playing worse, pressure takes over. You look at circumstances when you're relaxed, you're fine, but all of a sudden now, if I don't drive in a run, we're going to lose again. So I think that's what he meant, is simply, okay, that pressure is gone. A lot of them probably went in to Rob's office and apologized and took accountability, but then it's over and you move on. That's obvious. Wheeler coming back and Durant coming back, obvious. Sanchez and Luzardo pitching better. But here's I think the more subtle but good reasons why I think Mattingly makes a big difference. There's an imbalance. We've all known this. Anybody who's watched the Phillies or a fan of Phillies, there's an imbalance of left-handed hitters on this team. They're trying to plug in some right-handers, and it just hasn't worked out. But Mattingly was a left-handed hitter, and he wasn't just a left-handed hitter. Borderline Hall of Famer that has hit. And I watched him. I played against him. He would grind with 2 strikes. He would really fight to keep his front side in, especially against tough lefties. And he'd use the other side of the field. Now, he's watched these guys, and he's watched some of them look terrible against left-handed pitchers. There is a marked difference to the approach and the mechanical swings. And I actually heard you say, I think it was sometime last week, but Mattingly was there. He could have done something about it. Then he could have said something. But I want to tell you 2 instances. I get long, so you cut me off if you need to. But twice. Once when I first got called up to Cleveland, I had a guy. It was a bullpen coach. He had just got named bullpen coach. He got a big league job. He managed me for 3 years in AAA. He knew me inside and out. He knew what my swing looked like when I was going well and what I looked like when I was in a slump. And he walked up to me. I was struggling in the beginning of spring training. He walked up to me in the outfield. He made sure nobody else was around. Stood about 5 feet from me. He said, David, keep your head straight ahead. I'm going to talk to you, but I don't want anybody to see me talking to you. And he started telling me, you're going really hard to your front side. Slow your lower half down. When you keep your weight back, you see the ball. And I thought, why does he have to tell me like this? But that's the way it is. It's like an unwritten rule that you don't step on other guys' toes. My hitting coach was Bobby Bonds, not Barry. That's how old I am. Barry's dad. And this Doc was his name. He did not want Bobby to see him talking to me about hitting. One other quick one with Jimmy Williams. Jimmy,
With
who
one
managed
M.
Boston. You remember him. He managed Boston. He managed Toronto. All of a sudden, he's a bench coach with Atlanta when I played for the Braves. And I asked him, I said, by the way, him and I think I said this on your show, him and John Vukovic from the Phillies were the best coaches that I've ever had that could teach everybody on the roster in any part of the game. So I said, Jimmy, do you mismanage him? And he said, he thought about it, which made me, he listened and he respects me enough to put some thought into this answer. And he said, no, I don't. He said, I'll tell you why. When I managed, I didn't really get to teach as much because everybody had a role in a category that they were hired for, and I didn't want to step on them. So it's just like make out the lineup card. He goes, I'd rather teach. And now, back to Mattingly. I've watched him. Every once in a while, I'm watching a game on TV, and the camera goes down the dugout. And I've seen him 2 different occasions move Bryce off the bag, tell him to play back with a left-handed hitter up, and they had a lead late in the game. Not every team does that. Some teams will hold him on, will still shoot for double play here. Twice and my only point is he's managed twice. He's a little older. He's comfortable in his own skin. And I think he's comfortable walking around that clubhouse and walking right up to the batting cage during BP and making a comment. I just think, I wish, like I know you have guys on, guests on your show that cover the team. I would love to hear somebody ask him that question. Do you work with the guys with their swings? You probably have heard what I have, that he goes out first base with Bryce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, he was like Keith Hernandez on defense, like that good as a defensive first baseman. Pickett enjoyed playing the position. So long way of saying, I just think that there's a difference. It's not putting down Rob Thompson. It's just saying they're not the same people. They may have the same type of laid back personality, but man, if Don Mattingly is talking to you, you're going to listen.
Yeah.
He commands that respect because of his resume and his background. And I wish the players, they're a lot younger than me, that would have had a chance to see the way he went about it, his work ethic, the way he would grind through at bats. But Mike, are you seeing what I'm seeing as far as when I think about Marsh facing lefties, a lot of his hits have come to the left side of the field. He's making a conscious effort to keep his front side in and hit the ball the other way.
Yeah, well, Marsh is a big one, Dave, where, he's got a pretty big sample size against lefties, and it has not been good. So what goes into saying you've now built up enough equity that I'm going to give you another opportunity, even though the numbers say you're not really good at doing this? Because he's up to 340. Now he's starting to struggle a little bit here, so I'm wondering what ends up happening, because he was at 340, and now all of a sudden you look at it and you're saying, okay, he's not a 340 hitter, but he's down to 327, which is still very good. But what goes into maybe saying, I want to give you another chance at hitting lefties?
You think we prepared this little talk, because you just fed me perfect. So if you were Mattingly, right, while Thompson was managing.
For the record, people, Dave does not know my questions beforehand.
No, but that was perfect, because if you were Don Mattingly, and I know Josh is listening in the background, or maybe he's not, I don't know, but picture yourself being Don Mattingly as a bench coach. You're seeing everything. And now, if you're reading, well, Marsh has not hit left-handers in most of his career, and he's 4 for his last 37 or whatever. But you're watching him swing. And if you feel like, man, he's just flying open with his front side, he's intimidated by that arm coming from the left side. So first thing he's going to think of is, he's got to keep his front side in longer. Well, how do you do that? You got to look to drive the ball to the opposite field. Any ex-major leaguer, any alumni will tell you when they struggle, they'll come back, they'll sacrifice power, they'll sacrifice some things to just find that swing again. And the way you're going to find it is by thinking the other way, because you see the pitch a little bit longer, your head stays down a little bit better, and your takes get better because you're getting a few extra feet of the pitch as opposed to pulling it. By the way, on that point, well, let me finish that. So I think Mattingly went in with some ideas on what he was going to do with some hitters. I think that's why it's giving a guy another shot. Let's go to work first. I'm sure he went down with Kevin Long and said, let's try some things here. Drive everything the other way, even if it's an inside strike. Get inside of it, drive it the other way. And now you're seeing it longer. You're a little more balanced. So did you notice with Garcia, who's really struggled all year? They need him to be a run producer in the middle of that lineup. I think it's there, but he has really struggled. But yesterday, this is to my point, first at bat, hard line drive to right field, sac fly. He didn't get anything out of it. He did get the RBI, job done. But he waited and smoked it the other way. Next at bat, on an inside strike, he stayed inside of it and hit a soft line drive to second. He got beat because I think he's working the other way. That was his goal. Next at bat, a seed to right field, almost identical to the first one. Both times, the right fielder made nice running over-the-shoulder catches to the track. And then the last at bat, he just got under and flew out to center. Everything was on the right side of second base or right over second base. So my guess is they're working with him to try to get him on track the same way as I believe Marsh and Schwarber. But it's not a coincidence, man. They have an overbalance of left-hand hitters. Why would you not want a guy who's had so much success as a left-handed hitter, you know?
Yeah, and
Makes
listen,
perfect sense to me.
right now, Marsh, 250 against lefties. Now, sample size very small. He's 8 for 32, but that is significantly better than where he has been. He is 346 against right-handers, so he's having an incredible year against right-handers. So Marsh, he has been one guy who has helped out. What about Bohm? And we'll get to Stott in a bit. But Bohm, he was horrendous to the point I think we were ready. And you and I have been kind of Bohm guys and like Bohm, but it was hard to even say, okay, I can see him turning this around. What has changed, Dave, with Alec Bohm, who, by the way, in the month of May, which spans 55 at-bats now, he is hitting 345 with a 390 on base, a 953 OPS.
Yeah. Confidence is an amazing thing. People believing in you is an amazing thing. So, we're talking about Marsh and now Bohm. To have the manager who's filling out the lineup card come up to you and say, hey, look, to Marsh, I think you can be an everyday player. I'll pick your days, maybe against really tough lefties to give you a day off, but we need you out there. You're our best shot. Your defense is phenomenal, and we need you out there. So you're our best choice. And then with Bohm, I really think Bohm started off the year with issues off the field.
He did.
Understandable. Yeah, understandable issues. I read about that, and I thought, man, sometimes, Mike, when you have an issue, I might have talked about this with you, but Dwight Evans from the Red Sox, I had Walt Reniak as a hitting coach with the White Sox, and he had Dwight when he was the hitting coach with Boston. And he told me that Dwight has some severe medical issues with, I think, 2 of his children. And Walt Reniak used to tell me, this was his escape coming to the ballpark. The amount of work and the amount of focus needed to perform at that level for the time of the game. From the time he stepped onto the field until the last out, his focus allowed him, it freed him up from thinking about his kids, the issues that he was having at home. And that sucks because as soon as the game is over, your brain goes right back to that, like the reality of my life. I think it can happen the other way, where it just rips apart your focus and you're lost. He looked lost in the beginning of the season. Now, even on his outs, it's not like an overreaction and the shoulders dropping. His body language can get really bad when he struggles. I think some people hide it better than others. I would never judge anybody on it because it's not a fun part of the game when you're failing miserably, and it's how you raise your family,
Yeah, he, by the way, it's an amazing turnaround. And it's much like last year. Wasn't quite as bad in April last year. He was hitting 157 in the month of April. He is now up to 345 in the month of May, which has now brought his average all the way up to 217. And then there's Stott, another guy who has been a guy that, a lot of people like and think, should be a really good hitter. And for whatever reason, it has not been the guy that I think we anticipated or hoped for. But he is also starting to come around, and he is 28 years old now. You wonder if some of these guys learn some more tricks of the trade as they get a little older to help them get out of these things, because Bryson Stott, by the way, Dave, I don't know if you heard this, he leads the majors in RBI in the month of May with 18 RBI. So Stott's going pretty good right now. He's up to 226. And it's not like crazy. He's only hitting 254 in the month of May, but he's giving you much better at bats.
And I think that's what you want to look for as a fan, is exactly that. If you're going to bat 500-600 times in a season, you're going to make your share of outs for sure. So to me, it's all about consistency of approach. It's hard. Like, I remember when I would slide, and when I would slide, meaning my batting average hitting over 300, then struggle, falls into the 290s. Well, let's keep it above 290. I only got a month and a half left. Then it's in the 280s, and I'm physically getting a little bit weaker. The season has been a drag on me. I'm playing center field every day. And then it's 267, and oh man, you just die with it. You would think just stick with your approach, but it's just difficult sometimes, because that pitcher, he could care less if you're struggling. He's going to stick it to you every chance he gets. But yes, Stott has turned it around. Bohm has turned it around. Really, I think the only guy left is Garcia, and he's such an important.
Maybe Turner.
Turner's starting to come back. I feel like he is what he is. Like, it's easy to describe him. He is. You've heard me say this so many times. The only reason I don't like him as a leadoff guy is because, and I wouldn't try to change him, he's just so aggressive. He swings a lot of times first pitch, and I know it's most of the time you only lead off once when you're the leadoff hitter, that first inning, but to swing and make an out on the first pitch of the game. You learn nothing in the dugout. If a guy has a 6 or 7 pitch out, you gain a lot, because you can find out, does his fastball, is he got movement on it? How hard is he throwing today? Because that can vary. Has he got bite on his breaking ball? Like, you just learn a lot, and it makes you better as a team with your approach against that particular pitcher. But that's just me. I think he'll be fine in the end. He'll get his share of hits. I do think they're running a little bit more, right, Mike? Like, they look like they're picking up the stolen base attempts, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, I will say it's easy to pick up the stolen base attempts when you're on base more.
When you're getting on base, right?
But yeah, I like, it looks like there is more of a swagger to this team, and one of the things I want to see what you think. They get off to a 9-19 start, and it looks like a lifeless team. And I actually opined, I don't think Rob Thompson got fired because he was a bad manager and did a bad job. I think they just needed a different voice, which is why I probably would have made the change in the offseason, is what I said. I was like, you're bringing the same roster back. Something had to change. I think the messaging needed to change. And it looked like a team, Dave, that entered the season knowing, we'll just get back to the playoffs and try again. And they got punched in the face. It was like, it's not a fait accompli. You're going to make the playoffs. And I think they needed that switch.
Absolutely. I don't think that the intention was to fire Rob Thompson at some point during the year. I don't. It came down to how they played. They played so poorly. And then the poor play just steamrolled through everybody. It was contagious. Every phase of the game. Then they were looking like they didn't understand how to play the game. It just been part of it. It's rough. But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Here's a tough one. If Alex Cora picks up the phone, or has his agent pick up the phone tomorrow, and calls Dave Dombrowski and says, I changed my mind. I've been home. It's harder with all these kids around the house. I want to get back to the field. I'd like to manage.
Wow.
Would you hire him, or do you keep Mattingly?
Oh, man. I think at this stage, you just got to keep rolling with Mattingly here. I mean,
Why?
yeah, right? I mean, and then say, hey, look, we'll revisit this in the offseason. We'll talk to Don, see what his intentions are. But I think it would be extremely difficult you would know, to go to a third manager in the same year.
Yeah, I guess my point was, I think
it's a great question.
I think they dodged the bullet. I really do. And think of how close this was. If Alex Cora says yes, Mattingly's not the manager. And now what I'm going to say, I don't know Alex Cora's family background, but I know Joey Cora is an awesome third base coach. I just from watching games on TV, I went, that guy, if I was ever a manager, he'd be the first guy I would interview to see if he'd be my third base coach. He's so good at it. And that tells me that between the two of them, they just know the game. So I'm wondering, like, did dad teach them? I don't know, but whatever, their background is awesome in baseball, but so is Mattingly's. So again, I go back to, if you wait and you now all of a sudden hits the off season, great move by Cora, because there's going to be several managers that get fired. And now he's going to be able to demand a lot of money, maybe a lot of years, a lot of control. I make all decisions around here. Mattingly is in a different spot in his life. I don't even know if he would want to continue beyond the year. And who knows? They could fall flat on their face the rest of the year, not make the playoffs. And then they have to almost make it.
This series they got coming up, they got the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Padres. This will be kind of interesting. Because one of the things, we talk about Mattingly and the role that he's had. And I do think that a lot of it has been behind the scenes, little different things here. Yeah. Because the lineup's the same. It's not like he said, man, Thompson was doing this with the lineup, and I'm going to do this, and that will unlock everything. The lineup's the same, right? I mean, the pitching has just been – even Sanchez wasn't pitching his normal way. And then you didn't have Wheeler, which meant you were using Taijuan Walker. And then when you use Taijuan Walker, your bullpen gets used up. And, it was all a domino effect. But I definitely think that the mindset changed of – the messaging was stale. And because, look, it's not like normally, Dave, when a guy gets fired, you go from a calm guy to a in-your-face guy. And then from the in-your-face guy to the calm. Don Mattingly's as calm as Thompson is.
Yes, he is. You know what? You're making me think. I've heard you and Josh on the air talk about, like, who's making the lineup. Is it the guys upstairs? So I just wanted to give a simple example of what I believe the difference between analytics and experience. Now, I'm not the guy that says, you get analytics out of baseball. It's always been in. It's just better now. It's better technology. It used to be you write things on a piece of paper and it's at your locker. Now it's just better technology. But, if you took are you a right-handed hitter?
Yes,
Mike?
Right-handed.
All right. So guy throws you a fastball. He's mid-90s. If you took a swing and you foul it up over the first base dugout as a right-handed hitter, and analytics will tell you that was a bad swing. But analytics is not going to teach you what to do to fix that swing. Experience, that's a simple way of putting it, but experience tells me within 3 seconds before the next pitch is thrown, I was late and I was under. Because the clue is where the ball went. Mm-hmm. It went up. That means I was under. It went over the first base dugout. I was late. I can picture in my mind exactly where my barrel was in relationship to my hands when I struck the ball. Even though I'm swinging as hard as I can and the ball's coming in hard, I know exactly what happened on point of contact. Now my fix, let me get on top and let me be a little earlier with my barrel. Like that's what's going through a hitter's head when he steps out of the box. If you think about, like, I don't know, I've never shot a real gun, and I don't want to use that as an example in this day and age, but think about a paintball gun. If I shoot at you, we're playing against each other. If I shoot a paintball at you and it splats above your head and to the right, I'm going to move down and to the left.
Right, exactly.
And it's not going to take me much time, because if I don't do it quick, you're going to get a shot off of me, and I'm done. So that's kind of like hitting. You're responding to what you saw and you're fixing. Some guys lock up on that. Like and I think it happens more now than ever, because sometimes they get fed so much information. It's someone else controlling your career.
Right.
Do this with your hands, do this with your feet. Like sometimes there was a quick interview with Stott a few weeks ago. He had a good game. He got a post-game interview. And he actually said, maybe I got to stop revamping my entire swing. Ooh, that one, I heard that and I went, uh-oh. That's what's happened.
Well, we heard a lot of that, especially with Kingery when Kapler was here, and he was trying to turn him into some crazy stuff, and that really messed up his whole career. But, Dave, it's always an educational conversation, and it's amazing how fast it goes by. We'll catch up here soon. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, man. I know it's supposed to be crappy weather, but we'll catch up soon, man.
All right. Take care, Mike.
Great conversation with, as always, Dave Gallagher, former major leaguer. Always kind of breaks it down and gives it to you educationally. 7-4, Reds have taken the lead. Kirkering came in and gave up a couple there. 7-4 Reds now. They lead it over the Phils. Couple innings left to go. We're live at Ventnor Social. We've had a lot of nice people stop out and say hello, sign up for the trip. A bunch of people sitting upstairs. It's a nice day. So if you want to come in, we're downstairs inside. You can stop inside, sign up for the trip. And if you want to get some sun, go up. The deck is open upstairs. And there's a good amount of people hanging out up there for the show today. We got the trip to Baltimore. You come on in, sign up for the trip to Baltimore. And one lucky winner, we're going to be giving that away on July 29th. We're going to be live here at Ventnor Social. All right, coming up, Chris Pronger. What did he have to say about Matvei Michkov's sophomore season? You'll hear what Pronger said. Don't miss it. It's coming up next.
done. And our non-commissioned sales staff is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Together, let's drive during Bennett Chevrolet's Memorial Day sale. Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
All right, welcome back, Sports Bash Live. Phils down to the Reds. Now, if the Phils lose this game, they will lose their first series under Don Mattingly.
That was a heck of a throw from Garcia. He's got a howitzer, man.
He does.
Right?
But the guy was safe.
The guy was safe, but it was just a hell of a throw.
We're watching the Phils at Ventnor Social. Now, Tall Vince is upstairs. There's a bunch of people upstairs watching the game. He said the last time he went upstairs, there was a whole new crew of people that signed up for the Baltimore trip. So get on out here, watch the end of the Phils game with us. We got the Phillies Fastball Postgame show coming up in the 4 o'clock hour right after football at 4. Sports Bash is live on 97.3 ESPN. And, of course, we're live at Ventnor Social, which is we just had that chicken cutlet sandwich, broccoli Rob cedar roll.
I go Southwest chicken wrap.
Is that what that was?
Very good. Yep.
Looked pretty good. All right, everybody out there hanging out, 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. You know, the Flyers just finished up a successful season. And if I was to say, why were the Flyers so good this year, one of your answers probably would be, man, that Mitchkov took a big jump from year 1 to year 2. Well, I think we can all agree that did not happen. In fact, he had less points this year than he had a year ago. So what is the anticipation for year number 3 for Matvei Michkov? Chris Pronger, former Flyer, and, of course, NHL great, had a very interesting conversation on what was he on, Spit and Chicklets, Josh?
Spit and Chicklets, yeah. He was there on there with Bissonnette.
And he really, I thought, broke down a lot of very interesting takeaways and the parallels he talked about from his career to Michkov's career. And I thought that was something that was pretty eye-opening. And he says that the expectations that he came in with doesn't mean that there weren't going to be bumps along the road that the coach needs to help him out with.
Number one, I think the build-up for this player, in this case Mitchkov, has been not quite Demidov-like, but very close. They're like looping into the fact that he's going to be the savior. He isn't right now. I've been through it myself as an 18-year-old, high pick, a lot of pressure. You need to be coached. You need to be developed. You need maturity. The kid came in out of shape. We've heard him talk about that. I came in out of shape. There's a lot of parallels, but you still have to coach the kid, and you have to teach him how to be a pro, teach him expectations.
So Pronger talked about, you come in as an 18-year-old kid, and you have such high expectations. Sometimes those expectations just can't be met, at least instantaneously. And he said, look, I came in out of shape. He came in out of shape. He talked about the parallels there, but it's at least refreshing to hear him say, look, this guy is 18, I was 18, he said, and this kid's a young player. But one of the big things is that we constantly forget about him is he's not Canadian, right? He's not American. He is Russian, and there's a big difference between playing hockey in Russia than there is in North America.
Playing in Russia and playing in the U.S. and the NHL are completely different. It's not that you're trying to take away his skill, that you're trying to acclimate him to what playing in the NHL is like. The fans are highly passionate, as you might imagine. Since 2012, they've been in what's called a rebuild for what seems like 12 years. And I think they're frustrated and they want the rebuild to be over, but they didn't go about the rebuild properly. And now every time they say rebuild, they're like, well, we have our guy. And by the way, I don't know any team that rebuilds with a winger. You rebuild up the middle. Center, D, goalie.
Interesting. So he's saying, one, playing in Russia, way different than North America and in the NHL. That's number one. Two, the fact that you've been in this rebuild for so long that the minute you got a player that everybody got excited about, when they got Mitchkov, it was one of those situations, much like Dario Saric. You drafted a player that was, at the time, deemed to be a really, really good player that no one was drafting because, well, he's not going to play right away. And because he's not going to play right away, other teams didn't really want to draft him. So then you ended up getting a player that may be better than his draft spot. Well, Saric didn't turn out to be the player that you hoped, Is Mitchkov falling into that pattern where you drafted this guy? He wouldn't have been there if he was ready to play immediately. He wasn't ready to play immediately, so you got him. So now the expectations go through the roof, and the last part of it I think is very interesting. He said, I don't know any team that starts a rebuild by building with a winger.
But I think that's
that one, to me, is the eye-opening one of all of them.
Well, I think that's where we got to get back to what we have heard guys like Kevin Durso and other guys who we've had on 97.3 talk about, which is this is now the fourth different guy running this quote-unquote rebuild, right? So, you've talked about, Mike, about the change of Sam Hinkie to Colangelo to who's running in charge, to Morey, and now I guess it's Bob Myers, right? When you have so many changes over the course of time, it's hard to know who's really taking responsibility for things. And so Pronger can say, yeah, you didn't rebuild it right, but then we could also say, but we've changed the guy who's in charge of the rebuild so many times.
Well, that's fair. And that is something that I think they feel like they have in place, right? They feel like they've got some stability in that role now.
Because Briere did inherit a mess. I mean, so
he inherited a dumpster fire without any fire extinguisher.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it takes a few years to fix the mess.
And they seemingly are on the right path. Okay, I'm on board with that. But what do you guys make of Pronger's comment that I don't know anybody who starts a rebuild with a winger?
Well, I think that's part of the reason why you're in the predicament you're in. You have drafted all of these players, and none of them have fit the mold of what you needed. I mean, now I will say, and Mike, you've brought this up before, okay? And Pete, I would like you to jump in on this. They did have Carter Hart, and they thought they had the goaltender, and then he got in legal trouble. So that kind of changed the dynamic of your goaltender situation. And Danny Briere said at the end of this season, yeah, we see Vladar as our goalie for the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, the Hart thing, again, quite frankly, Hart was supposed to be the savior, and he wasn't as good as you hoped either, correct?
Correct.
But Vladar, on the other hand, was better than you expected him to be. Yeah.
He has been. He's been better, and look, for 1 year. And now that's the hard part with these things. You have to now extrapolate, okay, this guy gave us 1 good year. Is he the real deal for multiple years? That's the hard part in professional sports, to find someone who can give you consistency. It's not easy. And one thing that's really hard for Mitchkov is, and this is something that Pronger really lays out here, and, Durso has talked about this, other people have talked about this, but hearing it from Pronger really puts it into perspective about one big, major issue for Mitchkov.
I know you picked the best player available, and clearly he was the best player, but, okay, he came in out of shape. Great. Get him to work out more. Teach him that this is how you need to prepare. This is what the NHL's about. The biggest problem with this situation is the kid's Russian, and he doesn't speak very good English. And so there's a disconnect between the player and it looks like on the bench, him and Tocchet are always arguing. He's trying to communicate, and it takes longer because there's the disconnect in the language.
That's not going away, right? He's not going to learn the language fluently overnight, and he's been here 2 years now. And you're telling me in 2 years he hasn't picked up enough to say, I can have a conversation. It doesn't seem like that's the case. And he's saying they're not arguing. He just can't talk to them.
And I think, yeah, go ahead.
That's a problem, though, like that. I don't think we even –
which diminishes his value around the league. So even if you were to give up on the guy, which you would be at 21 years of age – league circles, I mean, they know his deficiencies. They talk,
But it's something that I think sports fans,
there's a home
we
run.
just take for granted and just assume. Like, the guy doesn't speak the language. Who the heck, they figure out. Like, the guy on the mound doesn't speak English. The pitching coach goes out there, and somehow they communicate. Now, normally there's somebody in the infield that maybe can be the translator or whatever, but I don't think we ever think about the fact that there are guys who just don't speak the language. How do you communicate? And I don't know how much the Flyers have helped him out in that situation.
Well, how much also is on Michkov? We've talked about how he needs to be coached up how to play in the NHL. Doesn't there needs to be taken a little initiative by Matvei himself to be like, you know what, I'm playing in a country with a different language. Maybe I should, look at the Phillies. Like, Mike, you mentioned yesterday about how Duran goes in there for the post-game interview, and he's got Diego next to him, and it's like, well,
Now,
we don't really
real
need
quick.
Diego.
So Nancy and Amanda came here today, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were the daughter and mother and daughter that came to see the show. They came out to fill out the form. Very nice people, local people. So Nancy and Amanda, thanks to them for coming out. And now Nancy said she was listening yesterday when I was talking about that, and she was yelling at the radio because she said I didn't give Diego any credit or
And then
props.
I said, well, what do you have against Diego? Then you told the story.
Well, I said I know his name's Diego, but I kind of blanked on it yesterday. But she was upset that I didn't say Diego's name.
Well, we're sorry, Nancy, that we messed up yesterday on the
But
sports.
thank
Bash.
you, Nancy and Amanda, for
And now
coming
she's
over
yelling
and
at the
saying
radio
hello.
yet again.
Yeah, well, she's saying that was me. That was me. They came in, they stopped by and
But
said hello.
my
That was
point
very nice.
was is that
No, but your
Duran,
point,
yeah.
But your point is, like, Duran has learned how to speak the language, and quite frankly, I think many of these guys can at least, like, for instance, I asked the question, though, the other way. You're asking it, you're blaming Mitchkov. I'm asking, can the organization have helped him out more? In other words, I don't think they have a Russian translator, do they?
Well, that was the other big thing. Remember, Kevin Durso and others have reported about this, but that they had a translator, and then they got rid of the translator.
And then that's on the organization. How do you not have a guy in that guy's hip pocket? He's your biggest asset. They should have one translator on his right and one on his left.
It's also weird because hockey, I mean, you got to coach these guys in real time on the bench. I mean, can you have Tocchet just dealing with a translator
Well, I don't know
during
that.
the game?
That's another thing. Like in baseball, the translator sits in the dugout, right? Diego
Correct.
sits in the dugout,
Yeah.
and he's in uniform. I don't know. Can you have a Russian guy sitting on the bench in a suit and just stands there when you need him? I don't know how that works. But
During a
it goes-
fast-paced game like hockey,
But it
baseball's
goes,
a little different.
It goes to what Pronger is saying. Like, that is something that the fans, like, just don't even, like, completely don't even acknowledge. The guy doesn't speak the language, and let's be honest. I don't know about you guys, but speaking Russian's not the easiest thing in the world. I mean,
No,
when I was in Thailand, there's a lot of Russian people in Thailand.
Really?
Phuket is like all Russian. Yeah, because there's a lot of people, believe it or not, that are Russian, and they don't agree with what's going on in the government there, so they have fled the country.
Well, that part's not surprising. I just didn't think it was Thailand.
But one of the places, there's not a lot of places that are willing to take Russian people's the problem. One place that is willing to take them is Thailand. And in Phuket, the whole town is basically run by the Russians. It's a complete Russian town. In fact, when we went to the restaurants, the menus were written in Russian.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So I had a Russian guy. I was in line, and he started talking to me in Russian, and I was like, whoa, dude. Like, that's a language I don't know anything about.
I know one word, does Vidonia, Drago, Rocky, good night.
That's more than I know. But on the conversely, I'm in Florida, and I'm having a full conversation. I can speak enough Spanish that I can at least understand what you're saying. Like, I can pick out a word and go down a road and be like, all right, he said door, or he said bottle, or he said open. Something. I don't know anything about Russian, and I feel like the Flyers have let him down in that aspect.
What's Russian for forecheck or back check?
Jeez. All right, Sports Fast Live, 97.3 ESPN. We got our Unsportsmanlike Moment of the day. That's coming up next. We're live at Ventnor Social. Stop on out. You got some time. The Phils are still on. 9-4. Alvarado just gave up a homer. We'll have the Phillies Fastball Postgame show at 4:30.
You're listening to The Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Is it a fireable offense?
If they lose this series, that's a conversation.
Evan?
Why did Daryl Morey get fired by the Sixers? Is it a culmination, accumulation of all of his moves, or is it that no one could get over the latest disaster, which was Jared McCain trade, sold high over and over and over again? The reason I bring that up as a comp is if they lose this series, I'm going to hold timeouts. I'm going to not bench James Harden. They could lose 3 more games. They all could be bad. The Cavs fans,
it won't be as bad as
they
this.
will not get over this if they lose it. So, yes, it is a fireable offense.
Evan Cohen on Sportsmanlike this morning with Evan and Michelle and Canty. So they're going back and forth talking about whether or not the loss last night by the Cavs and the way they lost that game, if they lose this series, do you look back at that moment as a fireable offense? Now, the reason he brings the Sixers into it is because many people thought when the Sixers beat the Celtics that saved everybody. And then the next week you got swept, and then that gets Morey fired. So he's saying it was that game enough, the way you lost that game, enough to say that was fireable because we had that lead, we should have won that game, and we look back, and that might be why we lose this series.
Yeah, I mean, I think if it depends how the series goes, right? If they show resolve and they win tomorrow night at the Garden and they tie it up, then you maybe save face a little bit. But if they just continue to choke away 20-point leads like that, I mean, yes.
If you choke away multiple 20-point
or just
leads,
get swept. I mean, what if they can't recover from this?
That's the thing. Now, he talked about Morey. He is saying that is it a culmination of all moves or is it just the most recent moves? You know, I think for Morey, I don't know if it was moves as much as it was morale. I don't think they looked at the moves and judged his performance. I think they just said something has to change. We can't bring back the same crew. We can't bring back the same team. We got to do something, unlike what the Phillies did. The Phillies just said manager stays, GM stays, roster stays. They go 9-19. They have to do something. I think the Sixers are looking at this and saying, we're not saying that you did a bad job. We're just saying we can't change Embiid, Paul George, Maxey, VJ. That team is pretty much going to be back.
Which, when you say those words, most people would think, okay, then the coach is going to get fired, not the front office.
I feel like they picked who was more disliked by the fan base,
right.
Morey or Nurse. And they ended up deciding that Morey was, in fact, the guy that needed to go. Plus,
Morey
they had Bob Myers there.
Right, and Morey had nothing to do with the team coming back from 3-1.
The fact that Bob Myers, they felt that him being here would appease the fans.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
They've got him. It's a sack.
Sixers.
Oh, baby.
And Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
And Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. It is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. All the big games, including tonight, Game 2, Oklahoma City and San Antonio. And, of course, you can listen to that game on 97.3 ESPN. Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast and PhillyVoice.com is back as we talk a little football. Now, Mosher, I do have a specific topic I do want to get into with you, but a couple of things I want to pick your brain on first. Number one, we do know the Eagles are playing in London this year. Did you see today that they are talking about expanding to potentially play games in Asia and Africa? And I would imagine the next step for the schedule, Moshe, we all keep hearing about an 18-game schedule. One of the things about the 18-game schedule that I heard about the hang-up is who's that other game against? Because everything's kind of like you play the two divisions, that's 8, then the 3 other teams, there gives you, 9, 10, 11, plus your division games, that's 17. I guess a matter of time before we get to 18 games and have one international game every single week. Is that where we're going?
Well, it could be, Mike. It could be. If the NFL can figure out a way to make more money, then it will do that. And, who cares what anybody else thinks is their attitude. And if making the game more global and expanding it in that way and getting merchandise being sold in Brazil and Germany and France and Mexico and all the other places does it, then they'll do it.
I was going to say, that was like one of my next questions here is a lot of fans are like, no one cares. Why do they do this? What is the NFL's ultimate goal in playing games overseas? Is it to sell merchandise? Is it to eventually create another broadcast window that they can have games on at a different time? We see so many standalone games now. They're trying to find different holidays and days of the week to play these games on. Is that why they're trying to find more locations?
Sure, it's 100% tied in. The more different places that they play, the more the chance for them to sow their seeds for football and get other countries to like football, which makes more fans, more viewers. And that's why when they release the ratings for the Super Bowl every year, you see that it gets bigger and bigger because they're counting global markets, not just the American market. And just like over here, I think there's been a rise in interest in soccer, or American or European football, whatever you want to call it, non-American football, because people are adopting teams that they want to follow. I'm a Tottenham fan, or I'm a Manchester U fan, and it's working the same way for the NFL in other countries where they're developing fan bases and people are becoming. You would be surprised how many emails we get to Inside the Birds from ITB listeners who live in Scotland, who live in England, who live in Ireland, Sweden, all across Europe and and also in South America. We get Mexico. We've gotten Brazil. It's crazy to me, but that helps the NFL expand its market globally, get more viewers, get them young as well. And then to your point, now you can start playing games in different time slots because of the time zone advantage, and people are now watching more games worldwide and nationally in different slots, which is an opportunity to make more money to the advertisers.
Well, and you led me perfectly right into the next conversation and question that builds off this. That's why I started with the international thing first. A lot of Eagle fans, I don't know, I thought when I went to London to see the Phillies play the Mets, that was like one of the greatest sporting events I'd ever been to. It was so cool. It was just such a unique experience. Well, we were discussing how popular are the Eagles across the country? Like you said, ITB, you guys have viewers from different countries. But are the Eagles where are they on the national draw scale? Like Dallas, we know, has countrywide appeal. The Chiefs have kind of caught them and are almost right there with them, if not surpassed them. I don't know that the Patriots ever got there. Like, the Dallas got big because they were winning, and then they were on TV, and then, your uncle liked them, and then you. That never really happened with the Brady Patriots. But where do we think Philly is? Because I would imagine your ITB has a lot of people watching and consuming your product from all over the country. But I think it's more that Philly fans that move are still wanting to get their Eagles fix, as opposed to there are fans all across the world that aren't, or a country that aren't from here, of the Eagles.
Right. So you're right. That's two different conversations. You can find a lot of Eagles fans or people rooting for the Eagles in other parts of the country, specifically heavily populated ones, South Florida, California, certain areas of Texas, right, the Northeast, because there's a lot of transplants and people take their fandom with them. And it's never been more easier to do that with the ability to watch games, whether it's MLB, right, any sport. It doesn't have to just be football. When I first got on the beat, though, I could tell when I traveled, right, that there were certain fan bases that had fans all across the country that were not transplants. They were just fans of when football was early, like the Cowboys of the 70s, right? The Steelers, the Steel Curtain Steelers, the Dolphins. There are a ton of Dolphins fans and a ton of Packers fans nationally that have never set foot in Miami or Green Bay or Pittsburgh or anything like that. But that's because of the early success those teams had in the league. Just like I remember when the Bulls were winning championships with Michael Jordan, there were Bulls fans everywhere. They were front runners, to be honest with you, and that's the effect there. I don't travel as much, but I have to think though that the recent Eagles success, and not just their success, but also their stardom, to have players like Jalen Hurts and Barkley and AJ Brown and Brandon Graham and guys. They've had plenty of star caliber guys. I would imagine that has created more non-Philadelphia based Eagles fans than maybe when I got on the beat originally.
That's what I was wondering. Like, Inside the Birds, Geoff Mosher's with us. When you guys do your live podcasts or when you are putting out your material, are you noticing that you're getting pockets of Eagles fans in the country from weird spots?
I think when it started really, I don't know when it started, but I remember when Michael Vick became the quarterback, that kind of put the Eagles in a different echelon as far. I would imagine a lot of down south Falcons fans who always loved Michael Vick and Virginia Tech fans adopted the Eagles, and just people in general who were in awe of Michael Vick's talent started to watch the Eagles. And I come across people who would tell me, especially young football players, that they got into football because of either Randall or Donovan, watching the way they played the game in such a explosive kind of way for a quarterback, right? Running, throwing, doing all that. I do think that they're always being on TV and having unique stars, Brian Westbrook, right? T.O. Having those kind of guys has helped expand their brand to people who aren't just born in Philadelphia.
Right, eight standalone games this year. So obviously the TV networks see the appeal of the Eagles, and that's where the conversation was like, is it because the Eagle fans locally are so passionate that just drive such a huge number from here? Or are there fans countrywide that want to watch the Eagles because they've won recently? Because we always feel like the Eagles are the teams that people can't stand, that people don't like, the Eagles fans. They look down upon them. And that's why it was like a weird dynamic of like, I don't know that they're on the level, even though they've won 2 Super Bowls in a short amount of time. Have they reached the level of like the Chiefs? Certainly not the Cowboys. Doesn't seem that there might be like the next team below them.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would think that they've exceeded or gotten past, say, the Dolphins, who, like I said, when I first got on the beat, I couldn't believe how many Dolphins fans there were all around the country that had never been to Miami. But then it made sense to me because of Don Shula and all the success they had and the perfect season and that. And then, obviously the Steelers and and
I
Cowboys
think
earlier
the
years
five
were
are what?
successful.
Dallas. You had the Dallas, the Steelers, the
Yep.
Dolphins, the Raiders, the Packers.
Yeah. Yes, those were the 5 teams. But the one thing I would say that helps put the Eagles now in that, if it's not the top 3 echelon close, is that they also travel their fans as well as any franchise. And when they go out west and they start winning and they're winning games at any point, it's like being in Philadelphia West. You're in California, but you're seeing half a stadium all clad in green and chanting EAGLES, whether it's, playing the Rams at SoFi, right? Or even the Chargers at Qualcomm.
I think that's the uniqueness of the Philadelphia sports fan to some degree, is that a lot of people do move away, but they still want their Eagles fix, and they listen to Inside the Birds, stations like ours, where, somebody that moves from wherever, Baltimore, and goes to Florida, I don't know that they're listening to 105.7 The Fan to hear their Orioles fix or their Ravens fix. I think they kind of move on from that. Whereas the Eagle fan moves and is still so attached to the team, even though they have left the region.
Yeah, and it's funny because somebody reached out to us on social media, and I imagine this is felt that way. I think I talked to you about the sort of scheduling quirk uniqueness of going to London to play the Jaguars for the second time that they were supposed to play Jaguars on the road. So they haven't been to Jacksonville since 2010, I think, which is like 16 years. That's crazy. But imagine, although there are a ton of Eagle or Philadelphia
Eagles fans,
transplants in northern Florida who I'm sure would love to go see the Eagles play the Jaguars in Jacksonville, who haven't gotten that opportunity in almost 2 decades. And it just goes to show you that,
Yeah, I had a guy who listens to our show. He lives down there, and he said he was so pumped when the Eagles were playing in Jacksonville. And then, of course, they're going to London. He's like, it looks like I'm going to have to drive to Nashville now because, that's the next kind of – they're not playing the Falcons, which I guess would be the closest. But now they're going to go to Nashville. But you're right. They don't get to go down there to see him. Geoff Mosher from Inside the Birds. You wrote over at phillyvoice.com. Check out his article at phillyvoice.com. How long will the A.J. Brown trade saga last? And, we all just figured, okay, June 1st will come. The trade with New England will happen, and they'll move on. Is that changing now? Is that feeling changing?
Well, I think the idea is that after the first few weeks of free agency are over, and then after the draft ends, and then after some teams have a couple of mini camps, right, what you'll commonly see is evaluators or decision makers like GMs, personnel heads, will look at their roster and say, okay, what do we still need going forward, and what can we afford to really truly be the contender that we want to be, assuming they want to be a contender, unless they're in a total rebuild, right? And so what you'll see is a lot of moves, because June 1st is that, as we know, the deadline where it's not just about A.J. Brown. There's usually a handful of players that become available either via trade or release who can be impact players. They may not be what they used to be, but they can still make an impact, right? Because the team they've just outpriced themselves with a team or bad situation. So you'll see a lot of moves made in that time, and I don't think it would be shocking if some teams are sort of taking inventory of what they got, whether it's the Commanders, right? Whether it's the Packers, who just lost a bunch of receivers in free agency.
Commanders, by the way, are said to be in on Stephon Diggs.
Brandon Ayuk, right? You look at those two teams. I can the Raiders. I could find 5, 6, 7 teams that could look at their wide receiver situation, and if they've got the money now, and if they use their own post-June 1 designation to get rid of a contract, saying, all right, I still think we can add here. So that's why I think that there could be more opportunities for teams to get back or to get first time in on A.J. Brown and allow Howie to be a little bit more selective than just having to send him to the Patriots, of course. I just think there's an opportunity there.
Well, that's right. In your article, you wrote other teams, including the Rams, have reportedly expressed some interest. I did see Jacksonville. Our team's just throwing. Are the Eagles throwing this out there, the breadcrumbs, to try to get New England to up the ante?
Sure, but it's not. It's not false though to think that there are teams that can re-engage like the Rams and that, or once they make their own post-June 1 moves, then start looking somewhere else. So, yeah, I obviously think the Eagles would love that message out there, but it's not necessarily an incorrect message. Having said all that, I still think the likely destination is New England, and I don't think that's ever changed. But the point is that there's always a little bit of movement in that around that post June 1 deadline that sometimes is surprising. And the only area where the Eagles wouldn't have leverage in that regard is that if you're looking for a wide receiver, I mean, Steph Diggs, Keenan Allen, there's some pretty good. There are some names out there that are maybe not as good as AJ Brown, but man, if you just need a number 3 wide receiver, you need some wide receiver help. They're right there on the open market for you, and all you got to do is sign
Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel, Tyreek Hill, obviously not healthy right now, and DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
But Stephon Diggs last year, 85 catches, I mean, over 1,000 yards. He still had a pretty productive year.
How would you think? What would you think of the Rams? Not to interrupt you, but if the Rams decided not to re-engage, but just say, "Hey, we're going to sign Stephon Diggs off to a 1-year deal, $15 million, I don't know, or maybe even get Keenan Allen," you'd be like, "Oh my God, that's a pretty good team right there, wouldn't you?"
Yeah, I mean,
they're already
you got Puka, and you got Puka, and you got Adams, and then if you add it, a guy like that. Now the question is, are they the slot guy? I mean, yes, you could play Puka more in that kind of traditional slot role and maximize that. I think of that group. Well, Deebo Samuel's an interesting one. How the team ends up using Deebo,
right?
You got to get him in the right team.
Yeah, I mean, look, Diggs had 1,000 yards last year, and he plays inside outside. And go look at Keenan Allen's numbers last year. I mean, he's almost like the forgotten man. He caught almost 80 balls. He was good. He was really, really good last year. 80 catches for 777 yards. Yeah, I'll take that and 9. So he's probably more now of a slot receiver anyway, averaging 9.6 per catch last year. But you put a guy like that around some really good talent, and you just give yourself another playmaker.
Well, the one Jacksonville deal, Brian Thomas Jr., would that be attractive to bring back to Philadelphia?
Maybe. You'd have to kind of see where he's at. He's a very talented guy, but the issue with him is he dropped a lot of passes last year. He dropped off in general from his great rookie year when he had almost 1,300 yards. He had 700 yards last year. You have to look into that. And the surprising thing is he averaged 14 yards per catch 2 years ago as a rookie when he had 1,282 yards, and he averaged 14.7 yards per catch, the exact same number last year at just 707 yards. So he can get deep. He's 6'2", 210, so he's got big X receiver size. I mean, he's that size and has that kind of talent, but you'd have to figure out what's going on in the head there.
All right, Geoff Mosher, read the full article about A.J. Brown and his possible trade destinations. You got the Rams, you got Jacksonville, Kansas City. I saw floated out there today as well that they might have some interest. But the Patriots, we still feel like that could be the way they go. You can check out more over at InsideTheBirds.com. All right, Moshe, we'll talk to you. Actually, we're off on Monday, so we'll talk to you Wednesday next week.
Sounds good. Take care, bud.
All right, man. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. We got our Phillies Fastball Postgame coming up. Phillies lose today 9-4 to the Reds. We'll get into that. If the Eagles were to trade A.J. Brown to the Rams, you want him going to the Rams. Would you rather take less and get him to go to New England, take less, go to Jacksonville, take less, go to Kansas City, or get more, but he goes to the Rams, and you got to play him in the NFC Championship game maybe?
Am I getting a
or
first
an
round
NFC
pick?
playoff game, by the way?
Am I getting a first-round pick no matter what?
Yeah, but you're getting let's say the Rams are giving you the most.
Right.
But he's going to the Rams. So you could play him in the first round of the playoffs. You're playing him this year. He would be in Philadelphia in week 4.
That'd be hell. I mean, that'd be a sight to see.
Well,
hopefully that game's on primetime.
Think about this. The Eagles have a joint practice scheduled already with the Patriots. So he will be here one way or another if they go to New England, because they'll be here for practice. He'll be here in August.
Yeah.
Like July, I should say. Probably late July, early August.
I think many fans want June 2nd to come here and just get him out of here. Just ship him off to New England June 2nd. Don't drag this thing in to the summertime. Just get him out of here.
Yeah. Well, I think
Which I
everybody-
could see that.
Yeah, I think people are just ready to move on. Like, I think it's that whole thing where it's like, all right, I've been hearing about this. I've kind of come to terms with it. I've now accepted it.
We
I'm
now
ready
know
to
that
move on.
Jalen wasn't at his wedding in L.A. over the weekend.
Oh, man. Yeah, he had other things going on.
Maybe Met Gala or
That was last year.
Oh, that was last year.
He didn't
okay.
show up to the
Yeah.
the engagement something because he went to the Met Gala. Wasn't that what
Yeah,
happened?
maybe he's reorganizing his closet or something.
All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. Coming up, we got the Phillies Fastball Postgame show. Our postgame segment, we'll talk with Oscar and Jeff about what happened today. Aaron Nola struggles again. Harper and Garcia, they're struggling right now. What's up is down, what's down is up. Trust the bullpen rankings. I'll ask Jeff Kerr how he's trusting this bullpen right now. Kirkering, rough day. Alvarado gives up a long ball. We'll get into that and more. Phillies Fastball coming up next with the guys, Jeff and Oscar. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash Live at Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
It's the Sports Bash with Mike Gill
And I am the voice of the voiceless.
on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
All right, welcome back. We're live at Ventnor Social, our Phillies Fastball Postgame today. Phillies lose 9-4. They go to 500 now and fall to the Reds in the series, the first series loss under Don Mattingly. But there's a lot of questions now coming off of this series loss that we're going to dive into, including the pitching today from Aaron Nola. The bullpen, we'll get Jeff's bullpen trust rankings and a couple of bats that are cold. We'll talk about all that and more as the Phillies fall, guys, to the Cincinnati Reds in the series. They fall to 25-25. It's our Phillies Fastball segment, and it is brought to you by our friends right here at Ventnor Social, where we are in Ventnor. And, man, a lot of people here watching the game today, and 3-1 early, another tough day for Aaron Nola, guys. I don't know. He just got done talking, and he said, felt good, felt like everything was good, but how many times can you keep hearing this before the Phillies have to start deciding on what to do with Aaron Nola?
Location. That is the name of the game, and unfortunately, Nola is leaving too many pitches. He's not controlling the strike zone the way he needs to control it, and when you don't have the stuff that he used to have, even though in the first inning he was throwing 93, 94 miles an hour, but if you cannot locate your pitches against major league hitters, you're going to have problems, and that's what happened, in my opinion, today. He left too many hanging curves, too many pitches in the middle of the plate, and he got hit hard.
Isn't that the story of the last couple starts, though, Jeff? That location, walks have been a problem, home runs have been a problem, hard-hit balls have been the problem.
Yeah, Oscar and I were actually talking about this during his start. It's all location, right? You know, he's allowed 4+ earned runs in 4 of the last 6 starts. Like, I don't think he's as bad as he's been the last 6 starts, but I don't think he's going to be Aaron Nola again. But we got the first, he's had 10 starts now. So we got the first 4 or 5 starts from Aaron Nola. That's what I thought this team would get, about an ERA of 4.5. I don't know. I don't think that's what fans want to hear, but that's the reality of it right now. But the location is bad. He relies too much on the corners to get outs. And with ABS, guys are going to challenge that now. So ABS is not in his favor. The pitch clock is not in his favor. Like, I feel like the game, in a sense, like Aaron Nola didn't forget how to pitch. I just feel like the game evolved and he hasn't.
Oscar, you said the other day he pitched well in the World Baseball Classic. But obviously these things are not in the World Baseball Classic, the ABS and the pitch clock and all these things that he is now, you know, what do they do in this situation? We talked yesterday when they brought up Gage Wood. Are they trying to fast line and rush him? Or do we really think that the Phillies organization, I mean, it would almost be like a disrespectful move to just make him not pitch or demote him. I mean, they're not going to send him to the minors as we talked yesterday, but what do you do in this situation where he's just not getting the job done?
You've got to ride the wave. I mean, he needs to improve. Cawthon and him needs to design a game plan together with Ramuto that is more effective. Look, we said it all along. I mean, this is a guy that is going to pitch. Hopefully, he can get to 4.5. He's at 6.04 after the start today. 2-4 for the season.
Yikes.
6.04. And you see it: 61 hits and 50 at bats. That means they're hitting him. I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this with a 1.56 whip. I mean, look, you have to ride the wave. I don't think there's another option in the entire Philly system to replace Nola right now. So Gay Wood, forget about it. I mean, he's a Class A pitcher. I mean, his fastball is probably a major league fastball, but he's not a pitcher. I mean, he's beginning to learn how to do it. I mean, does he have the right mindset? Does he have the right attitude? I mean, there's a lot of check marks that Gabe Wood needs to pass before he's eligible to probably.
Yeah, he may even be a reliever, Oscar. He may not even be a starter. Like,
exactly.
You know, this is something to look at 2 months down the line if he's pitching well in Reading. But what if he doesn't? What if he has like a 4 or 5 ERA in Reading and he's getting hit in First Energy Stadium? You know, this is something that the Phillies might have to get outside help here if they really want to get a 6 starter.
I mean, it's the same thing. You have the same thing, the same issue that you have with Nola is the same issue you have with another a right-handed outfielder that you're missing in this entire team.
Well, the one big thing here is, do you guys look at it from this perspective, though, is Aaron Nola is signed for a long time to a lot of money, and you can't just send him to the minors. You can't just demote him. They're not going to eat the money. So essentially it sounds like the answer is they're just going to keep trotting him out there whether these are the results or not.
Yeah, this is like Taijuan Walker, right? You just trot him out there. He's the number 5 starter. He's a highly paid number 5 starter, but that's what he is right now, and that's what you have to do. It's unfortunate, but look, this is what you got to tell Aaron Nola. Figure it out, because that's it.
Exactly. And you know what? Aaron is a smart guy. I mean, he's a smart guy. He's a Philly guy. He understands. He's going through a very tough stretch right now, and he's going to have to reinvent himself. Look. He's tough. I mean, look at Ranger Suarez for a second, okay? He throws harder than Ranger Suarez. So if Ranger Suarez can do it, you need to find a way to do it. The most important thing, in my opinion, right now, if he has to fix one thing, is he needs to throw to location. You saw JT Smith, even with his curveballs. I mean, they're in the middle of the plate. JT's asking the ball low and away, and he's in the middle of the plate. He needs to improve his location. That's the first thing he needs to do.
Well, and Jeff, you know the minor league system as good as anyone. You're at First Energy. You go to see Reading and Lehigh play. There's nobody there. This isn't, hey, why not give this guy a shot? There is nobody, coupled with the salary that Nola makes. This is akin to, you said Taijuan Walker. This is on times 2. Walker was on a 3-year deal making $18 million. Aaron Nola's making $25 million a year, and he's got, 4 years left on that deal?
Yeah, he's got 4 more years. And that's the thing. Like, the first year of this Aaron Nola deal, you got exactly what you paid for. Maybe even more than that. Last year, you did not. This year, you are not getting it. It's very frustrating to see, but and you know, I think a lot of fans understand this. Who are you bringing up? Alan Rangel? That ain't the answer. It's Bryce Wilson's got like an 8 ERA in AAA. Tucker Davis, he's good at home, but he's got a 5 ERA. Those guys are not the answer. And in Reading, it's the same thing. Gene Cabrera, you just sent him down the range to kind of figure things out. And to his credit, he did in his first start, but he's going to be down there a bit. They just brought up Juan He-Pan, who's going to be a reliever. He's a very intriguing reliever for them, but he's not an answer either. The number 12 prospect. They're putting all their good players in Reading right now and having these guys grow together, but none of these guys are ready to make an immediate impact on the 2026 Phillies.
This is not the strongest farm system in baseball, and that's part of the challenge. And when you have a small window, the way we've done it the last few years is giving away the Taits of this world and giving away some of the key players. I mean, the Mick Abel. Mick Abel would be a tremendous asset right now for this team, but if you had Mick Abel, you wouldn't have Johan Duran. So what do you prefer? Alvarado and I don't know, closing games. I mean,
let me ask you guys though, if they had an option, let's say they did have Mick Abel, what are you doing with Nola? That's the other thing. If they actually did have an answer, how do they?
Nola? Yeah. How do you justify having Mick Abel in AAA if he's dominating AAA and he's dominating the main? Like to me, I know what I would do. I'd eat the money and say, guess what, Mick? You're the pitcher.
If this would be the NBA, you'd trade the first round pick and Nola, and then I don't know, to the the Memphis Grizzlies or something like that.
Who would want that contract?
You would attach, right? That's how you try to get out of him in other leagues. You would attach a first round pick and say, here, we'll give you a first round pick just to get him out of here. But that's the other thing, is if they actually did have an option, I don't think they have the stones to say, and that's why I brought up yesterday. Maybe he gets some sort of mysterious injury. Last year, his ankle, which might have been a real thing, and then it meticulated from his ankle to his shoulder. It was a weird that kind of kept him getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
I remember when that first happened last year. I actually asked him about when did you feel it? And he said, well, when I heard it. What do you mean? And I said back to him, well, you don't feel it right away, Aaron. You know that.
Well,
I mean, you're an athlete.
He pitched. And Oscar, correct me if I'm wrong, he pitched a couple games after he originally had, quote-unquote, hurt the ankle, and then they kind of were like, well, he rolled it one night out in Colorado, and he kept trying to pitch through it, and then they finally put him on the injured list. So that's why I say maybe they just try to come up with something to give him. He looks like he needs an Alec Bohm reset.
Potentially. I mean, potentially. I don't know. Look, it's a very unique dynamic because of
I have the solution.
Is and what he has done. Go ahead, Jeff. What's the solution?
I have the solution. Remember when he has best start of the year, he had a week off? Maybe he needs to pitch once a week.
Well, the problem is the other pitchers don't want to wait that long to get their turns.
Especially your best pitcher, Zach Wheeler. I no disrespect to Christopher Sanchez, but Zach Wheeler does not like 6 days rest. I'm going to go with what the $42 million pitcher wants to do.
Yeah, he doesn't like it either.
Before we, by the way, we mentioned Alec Boehm getting a reset, and it's helped him out. He hit a home run today. It was a laser shot. He is up to 220, by the way. Alec Boehm has been on fire recently here. Sosa also with a home run today in the game, but the Phillies only muster up just 6 hits. They got the 2 home runs. They did not have a hit for the first couple innings of that game. So it was a sloppy game for both teams, but Cincinnati wins 9-4. One of the things I want to get into, you had Nola start the game, 5 innings, 8 hits, 4 runs, and then they turned it over to the bullpen, Jeff. So we got to look at the trust rankings on this bullpen all of a sudden now. Where are we? Because the other day we were talking about how Keller, Alvarado, Duran, that feels like they're locking into those guys, but what about everybody else?
It had a bad series against the Reds. I mean, look, Duran's still the guy. I think, to me, he's the guy I go with first, right? I still would go Kerkering second. Look, but take today aside, right? Orion Kerkering's been great for this team. I think the stat was he faced 11 inherited runners, and he only allowed 2 runs. He allowed 2 today, but his defense did not help him. Otto Kemp at that ball, probably, I don't know if he should have caught it or not. I'd have to rewatch it again. But, the Alec Boehm drop, that didn't help either. It's a combination of things, right? I'd love to see Orion Kerkering come in to a ball game where there's no one on base, but that's not his role. He seems to have the mentality for it, despite what the fans think. So I'd go Kerkering second, third. I was going to go Alvarado, but I don't know.
I gave up a homer today.
Sugar is my guy. Sugar is my guy.
Can I go Sugar and then Sugar and then Tim Mesa? Is that like the top 4?
Oscar, to your point, last year Tanner Banks became the guy that would have been the Sugar, where you were like, can I say Tanner Banks? And Tanner Banks was very reliable for this team last year. He hasn't been as reliable this year. It looks like he shaved his mustache off, by the way.
Look, by the way, guys,
that's going to go on for about a week now.
Yeah, 10 innings, relief pitching this series. We allowed 9 runs and 8.10 ERA. 9 runs in 10 innings. Unacceptable.
And it's been like that the entire series, right? It wasn't just today. Last night they had their issues. Monday night they had their issues. It was a bad series for the bullpen.
It was a bad series overall. We got out hit. We got out defended. We got out pitched. Look, the reality is, we just talked about the relievers, right? We were out hit 28-13 on the series.
You missed Kyle Schwarber too.
Yeah. Well, let's look at that. Oscar, I want to get your take on look, this offense, up is down, up and down. We got Boehm hot right now, but Garcia, they had him in the 2-hole today. He's in like a 1-for-29 slump coming into the game today, and they put him in the 2-hole today. I thought that was a odd decision. And then Bryce Harper, 0-for-3 again today. So Garcia and Harper, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, had a hit in the series.
Yeah. You know
Harper's 0-for-11, right?
Yeah, Harper went 0-for-10 in the series, and then Garcia went 0-for-9. So they both hitless in the series. This is interesting, right? And what I mentioned before, that we're missing a right-handed outfielder. Look, you could have put Baum second. You could have put whomever Andujar, whomever the guy was, and you don't have anybody to put as a second hitter. You don't have Schwarber there, so without Schwarber, you need to find who you need to put. Look, hitless Garcia is the guy that they put in the second hole. There's no way, guys. There's no way.
It's crazy. Like, when you take away a guy, everybody likes to complain. He only hits 220, 230. But you're taking away a guy who's got 20 home runs, on pace for 60. He was on pace for 70 going into Sunday. You're not going to score a lot of runs when you're relying on Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. Those two cannot get injured, period.
I mean, Garcia, the last 2 weeks, he's 6'4", 48 with a 125 batting average, an on-base percentage of 218, and a 4.26 on-base OPS. There's no way that guy could be hitting
Oscar,
second today. With all due respect.
Who is better, Garcia or Max Kepler right now?
No. I look. I think Garcia. Look, the arm that guy has, man. It's a beauty to watch that guy play right field.
Yeah,
man.
but I'm just saying it's
Did
kind
you
of
see
one
the
the same
throw?
right now.
Did you see the throw he made today? That guy was
Oh, it was
out.
a great throw.
That guy
It
was
a great
out.
throw.
I mean,
he's a great. He's a great defender, but look, you need this guy to hit. Period.
I think Jeff's question is offensively, Kepler or Garcia.
Yeah, we know who's the
I
better
don't know,
player.
guys. I mean,
we know who's the better player.
Well, I will say in Oscar's defense here, I tend to go with Garcia. One, he's a better defensive player. Two, he's also a right-handed bat where Kepler was left-handed. And that
Kepler was never a fit. Like, Garcia probably should have been the fit the year before when they signed Kepler. They should have found a right-handed bat to pay $10 million to. But it's like what Oscar said. You needed more. Like, you needed a Miguel Angular. You needed somebody.
Here's what I was thinking about. Here's what I was thinking about today. When Garcia was hit number 2 in the lineup, he came up the bat. I'm watching him hit in the first inning. And I said to myself, if you needed a right-handed bat, and we were near the trade deadline, and people brought up the name Garcia, I think Phillies fans would be like, hey, I'd take a shot with this guy.
2 years ago, that's who they wanted.
And,
look, remember, Garcia.
And right now,
hopefully he's that guy in the postseason. That's what we're all hoping.
Well,
also,
the guy in
this is what
2020
frustrates me,
for the
too.
2023 postseason. That guy.
Yeah, this is what frustrates me too, right? So I had no problem with them believing in Otto Kemp because Otto Kemp had a ton of injuries last year. They have not done him any favors. They have not done Felix Reyes any favors. Did you guys see what Felix Reyes did today? 2 home runs in Lehigh. I get tired of hearing the 4A player thing because I don't think you should give up on a player that quickly. But the Phillies have not done these two any favors, and it's hurting their major league careers.
There's one thing that I mentioned. Let me mention just this because I think that this is important. I think they're teams of teams. This is a team that has a very, very small window. That window was very wide in 2022, 2023. It's becoming smaller and smaller. When you don't have a bigger window and you need to win now, you don't have the time. Maybe a Crawford, you need to develop it because you're going to play him every day. But Kemp, that cannot be played every day. You need to bring somebody else that has experience that can help boost this batting.
That's why Weston Wilson was so valuable to this team for a lot. Everybody's like, why is Weston Wilson here? I'm like, do you see his OPS against lefties? Because he is a professional hitter. He can do it. Like Otto Kemp, we don't know if he can do it. Felix Reyes, we don't know. We think they can over time, but like you said, Oscar, when you have such a short window and you're trying to win a World Series, you can put up with Weston Wilson, but Kemp's a prospect. Felix Reyes is a prospect. Like, they need more time than just, they go 0 for 6 in 2 days and let's send them down.
Well, listen, they're in a tough spot with those particular players because they have Marsh. Marsh struggled against lefties. Now they're playing Marsh against lefties. How long does that go on? But the problem is the Kemps and the Reyeses, this team, like Oscar said, they're not in position to give them the job to play every day. And they don't have enough experience to know how to handle being a platoon player.
Yeah, they have to play every day right now. And you're seeing what happens if Felix Reyes plays every day. You see what happens when Otto Kemp plays every day. You're getting the 800 OPSs, but you needed that guy. You needed that guy, a major league hitter, to do it.
You know, one of our guests that we have on a lot is Dave Gallagher, who played 9 years in the majors. And he was primarily a platoon player. And he said, you can't just come into the league as a platoon player. Like, you've got to play and learn how to handle that role. And Otto Kemp and Felix Reyes are not ready to learn how to handle that role yet. The Phillies have failed in finding the veteran right-handed player that can platoon with Brandon Marsh. They just have not been able to find that guy it's unbelievable, for 4 years now. They can't find one guy to hit right-handed and play part-time.
Yeah, I think the decision is, look, they know this. I mean, there's nowhere to sugarcoat this. They know this. The thing is, they prefer to do. I can guarantee you right now, we're going to have a right-handed outfielder coming to this team.
You know what was so
we've
frustrating?
Been hearing this, we've been hearing this for 4 years, though.
Yeah, but we failed. Remember, we brought.
But Mike, this is what's frustrating. They found that guy 2 years ago, and he had kidney problems, and they gave up on him. And he figured it out in Cincinnati last year. That's what frustrates me. They actually had the guy in-house.
Yeah.
That's right. That whole situation was very frustrating, Jeff. You're talking about Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
They told us that they looked at Austin Hayes. They wanted him the year before. And when they got him, they didn't say he was a platoon player. They thought he was an everyday player. They were wrong about that, but he was a platoon player. So why did you just let him walk to Cincinnati for $5 million and replace him with Max Kepler? That was a decision there.
And,
That was a head
it's funny.
scratcher.
I talked to someone on the Orioles about this, and they loved it, right? They thought Austin Hayes was going to do great here, and obviously you can't predict the kidney injury, but I thought they would give him another shot. They were just like, "No, we're disappointed what happened to you." Yeah, they should. I would have just signed him to a cheap deal. Look, $5 million is cheap. Like, I would have just signed him to that and said, "You know what? Here's your shot." And if you don't make
You
it,
gave $10 million to Max Kepler. You gave $10 million to Max Kepler.
To be an
all
everyday
right, boys.
player.
Yeah.
A Phillies fastball postgame reaction. The Phillies lose today. The first series they lose under Don Mattingly in the fastball. And, of course, Jeff and Oscar back tomorrow on Thursday. Day off for the Phils, so we'll take a look at the weekend series, which is coming up for Memorial Day weekend. And the Phillies fastball is brought to you by our friends right here at Ventnor Social. Boys, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Go Phils.
All right, there's Jeff and Oscar on our Phillies fastball segment, and we do it each and every day right here on the Sports Bash. That's brought to you by our friends here at Ventnor Social. That's where we are, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. Ventnor Social is the spot for all the Phillies action. And tonight, you want to stop out and have a place to watch Spurs and Thunder. This is an epic series. This is like an all-timer. This is one of those series you're going to remember. Remember that series between the Thunder and the Spurs in 2026? This will be one of those series.
And that shot from Wemby at the logo in overtime.
Yeah.
That's a shot that's going to be
remembered.
That's going to be remembered.
That's a moment in basketball time. Speaking of basketball, on the other side, so I thought about a possible trade scenario for the Sixers.
Now, who's making the trade? Is it Bob Myers or is it Mike Gansey or let's go Mountaineers, by the way.
I like Mike Gansey.
Or the Trailblazers guy. Who's making the deal?
But here's a trade idea. I want to see what everybody's reaction is. We got that coming up next. Don't go away. The Sports Bash live at Ventnor Social.
Home of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City.
All right, final hour of the show. We got one more hour left. Beautiful day. Phil's lose today, but still time to stop out. Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue. Game tonight, I imagine, is going to be a good crowd for Spurs and Thunder tonight. That game you can listen to on 97.3 ESPN. You can watch all the action right here. And, of course, you can check out the Knicks tomorrow night taking on the Cavs. That was the game last night. Knicks down 22, 7:40 left to go. They come all the way back. They win the game. Unbelievable.
What a choke job by Cleveland. And our old friend James Harden did not have a good showing in the fourth.
The James Harden meme, did you see the James Harden meme of, like, the big heavy-set guy shooting off the rack and he just bricking them all over the place?
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So the Cavs are here because they beat the Pistons. Bill Simmons on the Bill Simmons podcast, after that series was over, brought up an interesting point that I was thinking about. So one of the things in that series that ended up happening was Jalen Duren was like a third-team All-NBA player in the regular season, right?
All-Star, I think, right?
All-Star,
yeah.
Double-double, 20 and 10. In the playoffs, he stunk. He averaged like 10 and 8. Paul Reed essentially took his fourth quarter minutes.
Yeah.
So Bill Simmons on the Bill Simmons podcast. Now keep in mind, Jalen Duren, Bill Simmons said he voted for him for third team All-NBA. So he's like, I'm a big fan of Duren. But after watching him in these playoffs, one thing that he wonders is Duren is a restricted free agent. This puts the Pistons in a really tough spot.
You have this impossible to figure out Duren contract thing down. I don't know. He just got outplayed by Jared Allen, who makes, 28, 29 million a year, right? So you can't pay Duren more than that, even though I voted for him for an All-NBA team. We've seen this in football and we've seen it in basketball, where if you overpay somebody who's not a dominant guy, that's the quickest way to screw your team up for 3-4 years. I just couldn't, in good conscience, pay that guy more than 33 to 34 a year.
So 33 to 34 a year. Now, I have seen some. He's a restricted free agent. And that at the end of the regular season, that they were talking about him getting a 5-year, $220 million Supermax.
Which means he probably costed himself a max contract with his performance in the playoffs.
Yes, except what if the Pistons just said, we can't sign this guy. We don't want to give him anything. We don't want to give him $25 million, $30 million, $40 million. You got to be out of your mind. But the Pistons also had to have watched that series and said, we're not good enough. Even with the Duren at his best, we don't have enough scoring. One of the problems with the Pistons all season long is many people said, where else are they going to get scoring if it's not from Cade Cunningham? They had no secondary scorer. Jalen Duren is not a secondary scorer. That's not what he is really good at. He's not like a pure scorer. He's a guy that got dunks and lobs and offensive rebounds and putbacks.
It's weird to think about that because how does that change from the regular season to the playoffs? Just be the same guy, the same physical, dunking, finishing guy that you always have been.
You get
right?
Yeah, I mean, but people get defended differently. Different things happen. But yes, but do the Pistons look at Duren and say, we just don't believe in this guy at all anymore, and we don't believe in this team. We got to do something different. So is the new guy in charge of the Sixers? Do you make a call to the Pistons and say, listen, we're going to help you out here? You sign him to the max deal, 5 years, $220, and we'll help you get out of it. We'll do a sign and trade. We'll give you can pick. You can have either Paul George or Joel Embiid, and we'll take Duren. But we're going to take on the 5 years, so you're getting one over on us here. You take Paul George, you only have 2 years. You take on Joel Embiid, you only have 3 years of that contract. We're going to be the ones that takes on the 5 years. if you're the Sixers, are you willing to bet that Jalen Duren, at max money now, mind you, he's going to have a big contract that's going to anchor the rest of your thing down, but are you willing to say, you know what? We have Maxey, we have Edgecombe. Duren would give us what those guys need, a physical presence who can rebound. We might have to pay him $40 million. So be it. Would anybody out there do that deal? Do you think the Pistons would do that deal? Do we think the Sixers would even do that deal? I don't even know that it's a possibility that they call the Pistons and say, hey, listen, you're probably deciding what to do with Duren. Sign him and trade him to us. You can pick who you want. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Anybody in on that deal? Does anybody think that deal could be plausible? That, yes, indeed, the Pistons are saying, you know what? This Duren isn't the right guy for us. We need another scorer. Paul George would be another scorer. I don't know if he's a great other scorer, but he's better than,
you
what
could
they have.
Two Tobias Harrises on your team.
Tobias is also a free agent. That would be one. Or do you say, you know what? We got Cade Cunningham and Joel Embiid. Take a crack for 3 years with Joel Embiid. Maybe he's healthy here in Detroit like he wasn't in Philadelphia. Maybe there's another team that says Philly has handled Embiid so bad that we would be willing to take him if we can get out of the whole situation with Duren.
So your plan would be to get rid of Embiid's contract, open up a max slot.
Well, they can pick.
And give that slot to Duren.
Yeah, essentially, the Pistons would pick. Do you want George for 2 years? So now you have 2 years of Paul George if you're the Pistons. Or you could pick Embiid, 3 years of Embiid, and you take a chance. Hey, we'll take a shot because we know Duren ain't it, but we have to sign Duren. They don't have a choice. They have to sign him. He's a restricted free agent.
Which means Detroit would be giving up on a 22-year-old all-star who had a great regular season.
Guess what? The Sixers once choose the 22-year-old all-star over Jimmy Butler, and that didn't go so well. So you have to make the decision. What did you learn from Jalen Duren in these playoffs if you're the Pistons?
I learned it took about 3 games for an opposing team to scheme against me, and
so
if you're the Pistons,
if you're the Pistons, you say we just lost this series. And why did we lose this series? We had no scoring. We couldn't score. We have no secondary scorer. Jalen Duren is not the scorer that we need. Paul George can score. Joel Embiid can certainly score. Do we pair Cade Cunningham up with Joel Embiid or Paul George and say, you know what? We'll take a shot for 2 years with Paul George, and we'll give you Jalen Duren. Like, how many people think that it is even plausible that the Pistons would even consider that? 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Because to me, if I'm the Pistons, I'm looking at what's going on right now. I have Cade Cunningham. I got to do something with this guy, right? I got to do something with Cade Cunningham, and I don't have anybody to help him out. And if I have to sign Duren back because he's a restricted free agent, now this is what Zach Lowe said about Duren's agent on how he might handle this situation.
After this series, if you're Jalen Duren's agent, you might pretend to protest what you just said, like, oh, that might place a phone call to Bill Simmons being like, oh, blah, I got to do the thing where I protest, but secretly you're like, I would take that.
Dyson Daniels, 25 a year. Jalen Johnson signed for, I think we all felt like it was a little low, right?
30 a year.
Five for 150. So he's somewhere in there.
So he's saying that he may get like $25 million from the Pistons. The Pistons might be saying, hey, we're willing to give you 25. Does his agent push back on that and say, no, you're paying him off his regular season. He was 20-10. He's going to be third-team All-NBA. We're not taking $25 million. So that the Sixers say, hey, or another team, it could be somebody else. I'm just throwing the Sixers out there. Hey, guys, you guys go ahead and sign him to the Supermax, sign and trade, we'll take him. I mean, to me, you have to make that call, right?
Yeah.
Does anybody out there object to that? That you wouldn't trade Joel Embiid for Jalen Duren? Or does anybody out there think I'm out of my mind that the Pistons wouldn't do that?
See, I don't think you're out of your mind because of the fact that I think it's less about who the Sixers are trading more than the fact that in order to make the math work, you're not just getting Duren back. You have to get one other player to make the math work. So now you're saying, hey, I'm giving up, let's just use Joel Embiid as an example. Do I want to give him Embiid? Not necessarily. But I'm getting two legitimate players in return for him who are, for all intents and purposes, in better physical availability.
Well, both teams are taking a shot here because you have a declining product right now with Jalen Duren. Now, big picture, you would say, guy was an all-star, third-team All-NBA
22.
potentially, and his age.
But giving him super max is probably where I'm out.
Based on what he just did in the playoffs.
Right.
It showed that, okay, this guy, he averaged in the playoffs, 10 points and 8 rebounds, coming off of a regular season where he averaged, I think, 20 and 10.
But one could argue is that just because he's a young player. Is it just it's his first foray into the postseason?
I'm not arguing that point, but what I am arguing that it came at a time where he came into restricted free agency. And now the Pistons have to make a decision. Which guy is he? Is he the 20 and 10 guy, which is fine during the 82-game season. But if he's going to be the 10 and 8 guy during the regular season for that particular team, that's not good enough, right?
No, not for that team, but for a team like the Sixers, who they need his defense and rebounding more than his scoring.
Right. The Sixers, I think, can take his physical presence and his rebounding. Even in, he still averaged 8 rebounds
But again,
in the playoffs.
are you giving that guy a super max contract? No. That type of a game, I'm not giving that guy $40 million a year.
Who? The Sixers?
Yeah, or any team for that matter.
The Sixers are taking the chance that we'll take that on
just because he's a
we
good
want to get
rebounder?
rid of Embiid or George. Yes, because what does this team lack so bad?
Rebounding.
They can't rebound.
Well,
and I
among
don't
other things,
I don't need my big man to score. I have Maxey and I have VJ Edgecombe. So I don't need my big man to score. I need him to pick and roll, and I need him to be athletic. I need him to rebound. I need him to clear the glass. I need him to rim protect. I need him to be an athletic big. I don't need him to be a 25-point-a-game scorer. So the Sixers don't need the 20 and 10 Duren. They could use the 10 and 8 Duren.
I forget who asked the question to Bob Myers at the press conference, but they asked him about the 3 Supermax players in today's game. Does that still work? And he kind of said, no, it doesn't. It's more about depth.
He's not wrong, but now you're kind of stuck in it. You're
Right.
stuck in it for at least 3 more years no matter what, because you have Embiid for 3 more years. So this trade, you would be getting out of the Embiid contract. You're also...
Which is goal number 1, right, of this new
him
regime?
I think that or George, one of the
Right,
two. Get rid of one of them. The second, because you have to change the roster somehow. You can't bring the same roster back, but you're screwed. So, yes, you are getting into another Supermax deal, potentially. Now, it's not as much as Embiid.
Nowhere as much as Embiid.
Jalen Duren would be a $44 million deal, where Embiid is at $58 million.
Okay.
So you're adding another player at $40+ million, which is big. But you are rolling the dice that he is the perfect fit for your 2 other max players because he does something that you don't currently have. He rebounds and he rim protects, which
And
this team does
he
not
plays
have at all.
every game, basically.
And he plays hard every game.
Yeah.
He's got availability. He's got the ability to rebound at a very high level, which is not something that Embiid does well. Now, the question would be, let's say the Pistons picked Paul George. Could he play with Embiid? And that might be an issue. I don't know that he plays very well with Joel Embiid. He did not shoot 1 3-pointer. He's not a stretch. He's not an offensive, that kind of guy. He would be more of a classic old school, like, almost Andre Drummond in his prime.
Well, I was thinking
Right?
more
A
like
little bit
Ben.
more active.
I was thinking, couldn't you play them? I'm not saying it's literally like this, but couldn't you do a little like the Pistons when it was Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and just tell Embiid, don't spend all your time around the post?
I think more people complain that Joel doesn't spend enough time around the post. But theoretically, yes, you could ask Joel to be more of a stretch 5 than he already is. But the problem with Joel in that role as a stretch 5, he doesn't shoot the 3 well enough. I mean, he shoots at it like 33%. That's not a good enough percentage to say, go out there and just be a stretch. Now, may that preserve him to play more games? Possibly. I think the best option would be if they said, hey, we'll take the shot with Joel Embiid You get Joel's contract out of here, those 3 years. Now, the problem is you're taking 2 extra years on a Jalen Duren deal. But to my thought process here is that he's 22 years old. He just had a 20-10 season.
Right.
He's still going to be a pretty solid performer for you, up no matter what.
I'll say, isn't part of this, Mike, you're getting the win just because he's almost a decade younger?
You're taking on the younger player, right? And now he becomes the third piece with Maxey, Edgecombe, and Duren. Where in Detroit, they don't have Maxey and they have Cade Cunningham, but they don't have anybody else.
And that's why
Duren can't be the second player.
And again, that's why I go back to, Mike, the other part of this win is you're getting a second player, potentially, to make the math work. And we don't know exactly who that second player would be in the most literal sense, but we know that in order to make the math work, it would have to be, whether it be a Holland or a Levert or someone like that, just to mathematically. So now you're not just getting, you're not giving up Joel Embiid for a bag of baseballs. You're giving up Joel Embiid for 2 real players.
It's not a 1-for-1. Now, let me ask you this question. It sounds like both of you guys would do it if you're the Sixers, right?
Yeah, I think I would probably be convinced on that.
Josh?
Yes.
What if the Pistons say we would do the sign and trade, but you got to attach a first-round pick? So you're getting the 22-year-old kid,
right,
who's 13. I mean, the All-NBA teams haven't come out, but he may very well be third-team All-NBA this year. Now, remember, Ben Simmons was once third-team All-NBA, so put some stock into that, if you will. But we're giving you a 20-10 player who's 22 years old. We're willing to swap the salaries with you, but you need to attach a first-round pick with it.
I just don't like how he went MIA against the Cavs. That would be a sticking point for me.
But wasn't part of the reason why he went
first round.
MIA is because he was playing elite guys who are much more mature than he is. Like, Isaiah Stewart came into some of those games and he struggled too. So it's not like it was just.
But again,
him.
why he played so well in the regular season for 82 games? Why couldn't he just keep it up in the playoffs?
Because for 82 games, you're not playing Evan Mobley and Jared Allen.
They see you every single night, so they game plan differently for you, and you have to try to Rubik's Cube your mind.
But he's not shooting jumpers. He's just rebounding and being a physical force.
That's true. Why?
Right?
Now, he did still grab 8 rebounds a night. During the regular season, I think he averaged about 11. So he was about 3 rebounds off, and that could be a variety of reasons. But, your question on that is fair. Where was the scoring? How come that went down by 5 baskets a night he was unable to get? Now, part of that could be they weren't playing him. I mean, Paul Reed took his minutes, quite frankly, right?
True.
Yeah, played him, right? I mean, you got to play the better guy in the playoffs.
Paul Reed did a great job at basically saying, I can do the Jaren Duran role better than he can for this series.
Well, as we're seeing in the Oklahoma City series.
Why would you pay that guy $40 million a year? Why wouldn't you pay that guy $20 million a year?
And they might say, we're only willing to pay you $20 million a year. And he might say, go pound sand.
Yeah.
Now, we're seeing in the Oklahoma City Spurs series. I think you're at the point in this series where Hartenstein's almost unplayable in this series.
Yeah, I haven't seen him. I didn't see him in the fourth quarter, overtime.
You can't play him in this series against Wemby.
Same with McCain. McCain didn't get many minutes.
Well, he doesn't get a lot. I mean, he did hit that big 3 late in the game in Game 1.
Yeah.
Well, it's only been 1 game.
The
but
Spurs
McCain only gets minutes anyway.
Well,
the Spurs,
yeah.
The Spurs with Wemby, you can't put Hartenstein on him because he can't go out on the perimeter and defend him. So
Correct.
now you're kind of you're in the same situation with like Karl Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid, and that's where you got to pull him out. Hartenstein's almost unplayable in this series because of that. That's where Duren gets caught, and the Sixers would have to be cognizant of that too. Whereas he can't play in some series probably against a Karl Anthony Towns, a Mobley, where those guys are much more perimeter-oriented big men.
But again, you're getting out of the Embiid contract.
Listen, I understand the pluses and the minuses of it. You're getting out of the Embiid contract, and you're getting a player who can be a complement defensively on the boards for Maxey and Edgecombe. So, in other words, Maxey and Edgecombe, you guys can cook. You don't have to worry about Embiid being here anymore to get him involved in the offense. You two take the ball to the basket, shoot threes, take your mid-range jumpers.
Much
do
like
what you got to do.
Cade Cunningham, much like what he can do.
Right, you got two guys, but you
Yeah.
got two guys who can do it. And Duren, your job on this team is get every board. Work your ass off and be the guy that works hard and gets every board.
If I can spin, if I could spin part of your question back to you, Mike, you talked about having to include a first-round pick in a trade, right? If you have to include a first-round pick, are you demanding of the Pistons you have to get a specific player in return? Like, are you telling the Pistons, you want me to include the first-round pick, you got to give me Thompson or LeVert in return?
You're talking about as the second guy.
Right, because no matter what, you have to include a second guy to make the math work.
Right, because Embiid makes $58 million, and I think Paul George is around $54 million.
Embiid is going to be so Embiid is a 55, Paul George is a 51 cap hit next year.
Okay, and if you signed Jalen Duren to a 5-year $220, that's $44 million. So you still have to really put about $8 million more on the books to make that trade work.
Right, so for example,
we would take Duncan Robinson. Are you willing to do that if you're Detroit? Would you take who'd you just say?
Well, I said Amen Thompson. He's $8.7 million. Holland is $8.6 million. Duncan Robinson is $16 million. LeVert is $14.
That's a little too much. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know that any of those guys. I mean, obviously Duncan Robinson's a guy that can shoot the three. It's the kind of guy the Sixers have constantly lacked, and he seems to kill them all the time, doesn't he?
Always. All the time.
So, to answer that part of the question, no, I don't know that there's one guy that, stands out amongst any of the other guys. But you would have to include two guys, and the Sixers might have to attach a pick to get rid of Embiid's contract. But at this point, you almost have to do it. No, I don't know if the Pistons would do it. Just thought it was fun fodder.
The Pistons have now some leverage to lowball this guy because of his performance in the playoffs.
Yeah, and one of the things Bill Simmons said, he's look for the positive for the Sixers is he doesn't think the Pistons or anybody should be comfortable giving a big man a maxed out contract.
Somebody will,
because they just constantly get broken down, they get hurt. But does anybody think Jalen Duren would be a good fit around Maxey and VJ? And you go with that and take your chance by moving on from Joel Embiid or Paul George. Now, if you were the Pistons, would you pick Joel Embiid or Paul George?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
You got 2 years of Paul George. Say, hey, you and Cade Cunningham, that's your two? That would be funny that Paul George would be replacing Tobias Harris for a second time.
I'd still go with Joe.
I'd probably go Joel as well, just because I feel like Paul George is like one day away from being like, I'm retiring and going home to L.A.
Well, Joel Embiid, if you did that, you would have 3 years at Joel, and you're hoping, if you're the Pistons, that a Cade Cunningham, Joel Embiid duo would be good enough
to get the 1 seed again,
to get that 1 seed, and then beat the Cavs this time, and then you go mano-a-mano with the Knicks with Joel Embiid and Cade Cunningham, and then, of course, they probably get somebody else because Tobias Harris is.
You could have Paul Reed, B-ball Paul, backing up Embiid again.
There you go. All right, coming up, Mike McGarry is live at Citizens Bank Park where the Phillies fall in the series. First series they lost with Don Mattingly. What are some of the things that stood out, and what ideas might Mike McGarry have to replace, or what do you do with Aaron Nola? We'll talk to him coming up next.
You're listening to the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Never thought this radio stunt would catch on so big.
On 97.3 ESPN.
At 5:31, we're going to check in with the Phils and their loss today. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN this hour of the show. First, we're live at Ventnor Social. They'll have all the games on tonight. Western Conference Finals. No Phils tonight. They lost today 9-4. This hour of the show brought to you by Boxing Insider Promotions.
Yes, the next big boxing event is back at Tropicana Showroom in Atlantic City, Saturday, June 13th. The biggest heavyweight showdown in South Jersey boxing history. Undefeated Holy Spirit graduate Josh Popper taking on Absegami High School graduate Bruce Selden Jr. Both men are coming into the fight undefeated, which means one must lose. Plus, Pleasantville's Julio Sanchez III in New Jersey super bantamweight John Leonardo among the fighters who will be in action Saturday, June 13th. Tickets on sale now for this action-packed fight event is at Ticketmaster.com, presented by Boxing Insider Promotions.
All right, Mike McGarry was at the ballpark today. Phils lose. Another Aaron Nola rough outing. We'll bring Mike McGarry into the conversation we've been having throughout the day here. Nola struggles. What do they do with him? Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. I don't know. He's got 4 years left at
just worry about going start to start with him for the rest of the season. We'll worry about the 3 years on the contract at the end of the season. I think right now you've got to focus on getting him to the point where you can throw him out on the mound and it can be a competitive game. And in fairness to him, he wasn't great today, but he left 1 down, and they did cut it to 4-3 before the bullpen imploded.
Right, and obviously the night in Pittsburgh, last start he pitched 3 2/3. He gave up 6 runs there. It just seems that he always gives up that one inning. But how much leash do you think he has? I mean, he is a veteran. He was drafted here. He makes a lot of money. Is this, hey, it doesn't matter how bad he pitches, he's not going anywhere. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I do see it that way for a number of reasons. Not only because he is a veteran and what he's done in the past, but Mike, there are no other options. I mean, we've talked about it before. Do you want to see Alan Rangel up here instead of Aaron Nola? I think at one point you'll probably see Gage Wood in a major league mound if this continues so far this season. But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So, I think you have no choice but to continue to try Nola out there. Now, I get it, as I just wrote for PressOfAC.com. He has no margin for error. And because of their slow start, the Phillies have no margin for error. So they're 25-25 with 9 games coming up against the Guardians, the Padres, and the Dodgers. That's a tough 9-game stretch. And because of the way they start out, Mike, if they go, 3-6 on this stretch, or God forbid 2-7 on this stretch, all of a sudden they're 3-4 games, 5 games under 500 again, and then it takes you 2 weeks to climb back to where you are now. So I get it; they have no margin for error. And I asked Nola after the game, and he agreed with this. It seems like he's a guy that's got to have precise command now. His stuff isn't good enough to be an inch or 2 off and still get guys out. If he's an inch or 2 off, he gets hit, and he gets hit hard.
Yeah, since the release of Taijuan Walker, which you wrote over at PressOfAtlanticCity.com, Nola's 2-4. The ERA is 6.04. I mean, he's given up 6 runs every single time he's out there. And one of the things we were talking about last hour, Mike, I want to see what you think about this, is as it goes to what you're saying with his command, with the ABS and the pitch clock. I think this is really things that have hurt Aaron Nola in the evolution of this game, is the pitch clock and then the ABS. He used to be a guy that could nibble and nibble and nibble, and you're not getting that anymore with these ABS because these umpires aren't listening to those calls as much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were joking with a couple of the other reporters, Mike, that maybe like JT Realmuto should reverse frame the ball in the early innings to try to get the other team to use their challenges up. So then Nola, when they have the no challenges, then Nola can go back to nibbling and keeping the corners. Unfortunately for Aaron Nola, he's not pitching in the 1950s. He's pitching in 2026. So we have the pitch clock and we have the ABS. But these are 2 things which, though have greatly to baseball, have kind of hurt Aaron Nola. And I get it, Mike. The Phillies Phillies are 4-6 in his 10 starts this season, and this is a team that has to get on a big sort of winning streak, has to get on a hot streak to sort of make up for the poor start they had. And it's tough to get on a hot streak when every day or every fifth day you pitcher going out there who is going to give up 5 and 6 runs.
Well, and then when he pitches, they have to go to the bullpen earlier. The bullpen, not great today. They got back into the game 5-4. Alec Bowen with the homer, Sosa with the homer. That gets them back in the game. But then the bullpen kind of struggled here because, you got to go to the bullpen earlier, which means you need more guys. And if one guy doesn't have it that day, Kurt Green today, he got hit. They also have the Alvarado home run. And it's just a domino effect there when he doesn't pitch well. Don Mattingly, not a guy who talks a lot about pitching. He said, I don't know much about pitching, so I don't know what to say. But he said that they discussed several approaches to get Nola back on track. Do any of these sound plausible?
Yeah, I don't know. They talked about him maybe pitching backwards, using his fastball more, using his fastball less. Then Mattingly basically said, well, each team sort of presents its own challenges, and he has to come up with a plan to sort of, attack that team's weaknesses and sort of limit the damage. It might be on a team-by basis, which, means he'll adjust the way he pitches every time out. It didn't sound to me, Mike, like they had an answer. It's a tough situation right now. Here's a guy who's been a great Phillies pitcher. I mean, probably one of the pitchers in franchise history. And so far, all of last year and the 2 months of this season, in his own words, it has not been great. It's kind of hard to watch. And, if they had options, if there was a guy in AAA who was beating down the door, if they had, 2 or 3 guys down there, you could see them maybe doing something where tell Nola to, maybe come up with an, in quotes, sort of injury, go on the injured list for 15 days, work on stuff and kind of rebuild yourself and come back. But they literally got nobody else to pitch other than Aaron Nola.
Like one of the things you wrote at PrestonAC.com is the next 9 games. You just kind of hinted at that. Whether the team that struggled, whether the team that struggled under Rob Thompson or the team that turned its season around under Mattingly, they were 16-4 after 20 games. They've now lost the last 2. But you're there every night. Do you see anything discernible on the field that this team does different or better with Don Mattingly as the manager?
Well, I just thought they played a little crisper with Mattingly. I just thought, like anything, if a new boss comes into your operation, you're just going to make sure all your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed for at least the first couple of weeks. But now we're about a month into the Mattingly era, and I think it's okay to ask or okay to wonder, is the sort of jump or boost they got by changing the managers, that's still there. And I think this is a perfect 9-game stretch to see, kind of where they are. They've got the Guardians who lead the AL Central, and they've got the Padres and the Dodgers on the road, 2 of the best teams in all of baseball, certainly 2 of the best in the National League. And I look at these 9 games as kind of a measuring stick for where the Phillies are. Have they fixed the problems that caused them to go 9-19? Are they the team that was 16-4 under Mattingly, or are they the team that was 9-19 under Rob Thompson? I think you're going to see that. We're going to find that out in the next 9 games. And I'm not asking for the road. I don't know about you, but these 9 games, 6 of them on the road, I'd sign for 5-4 right now. If they come back 5-4, in early June, they return to Citizens Bank Park when that road trip is up, and they're 1 game over 500. Now, that's not going to, really excite anybody or make them start buying playoff tickets. But I'd sign for 5-4 right now and kind of go from there.
Yeah, the other day, I know it's still May, but as you said, it's very important. They were only 7 back. They're 8.5 back all of a sudden, just like that. The thing is quickly from 7, which sounds like, hey, arm's length, to 8.5, which you're almost at double digits because of these 2 losses against the Reds. You got a tough stretch coming up. Mike McGarry, you had a Knicks game the other night. Did you flip off the TV with around 22 with 7:40 left to go?
I did not flip off the TV at all. I am a loyal Knicks fan, and I'll give you a little story here, Mike. So I covered the baseball game yesterday, the Mainland beating Egg Harbor Township in the Cape Atlantic League Final. Great job by EHT making that an event, by the way. So I'm writing my story, and I'm driving home, and I'm listening to the Knicks broadcast, and they're down 20-22. So I get home right at the start of the fourth quarter, and my wife takes the dogs for a walk, and all of a sudden, I hear the Knicks are coming back, and my phone's ringing, and I pick up my phone, and my wife goes, I'm 2 blocks away. I can hear you shouting Jalen Brunson's name. I think you need to calm down because the neighbors might get worried. Before playing that last night, it's kind of hard to, hold your excitement when Brunson's doing what he did in the fourth quarter. And I think my neighbors kind of understood.
That's great. Hey, listen, Brunson, he must have hit 5 of the most unbelievable clutch big-time shots that you can remember. He has just taken his game to another level in these playoffs. We'll see what ends up happening. Now, let me ask you, if you're the Pistons, okay, you lose that series, the Cavs have moved on. If you're the Pistons, Jalen thing, he's a restricted free agent. You give him a max deal. Would you consider a sign and trade for a Paul George or Joel Embiid because you don't know what to do with during his contract?
I would definitely consider that, basically, if I was the Pistons. Duran is kind of inequality of player. Do you want to give him the max contract? Do you not want to give him the max contract? Is he worth the max contract? Is he not worth the max contract? And to me, you have to ask if a guy is worth the max contract, basically. You not giving him a max contract. And if I'm the Pistons, I lost to Cleveland. I think I'm a good regular season team, but what do I need to kind of change in the playoffs or help me succeed in the playoffs? I might look to tweak the core of that team to kind of get me to the next level. So if I was the Pistons, I'd be open to any options because to me, it's not automatic that Jalen Duran is a max contract player. And if he comes here, though, plays with Philadelphia, plays with Mitchkov, plays with Maxey, you can play fast, he's healthy, he's out there. I think that is a kind of deal that sort of works for both teams, or is something for both teams to think about.
Yeah, because that's a tough situation. He's a restricted free agent. He's going to probably be third-team All-NBA. So he probably says, hey, I want a max deal. The Pistons say, look, we just saw what happened in the playoffs. Maybe we take a shot with the Paul George or Joel Embiid and get out of the having to give you the max deal. And then Philadelphia, of course, would take on a 5-year max deal, but a 22-year-old player, and they pair him up with Mitchkov. Something to think about there. We were talking about that earlier in the show. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Yeah, you were covering that mainland EHC game. I see my Mustangs win the Cape Atlantic League Championship. So salute to the Mustangs beating EHT yesterday. You can read more about that over at pressofac.com. Mike, have a good rest of the night, man, and I guess go Knicks.
All right, yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk on Friday after another game. I'm pumped up for tonight's game. I'm pumped up for Thursday's game. I just got to survive the storm. Looks like the world is going to end here in Camden County, Mike, so I'll sign off, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
Oh, wow, we're in Ventnor, and it looks like a beautiful day right now. Thanks, Mike. He's saying it looks like the apocalypse, it sounds like. He's in Camden County driving home from Philadelphia, the Phillies game on his way home. We're here in Ventnor at Ventnor Social. There's people outside having drinks on the deck up there. Do they know that the apocalypse is about to come towards them?
If not tonight, then tomorrow, certainly.
Rain in the forecast all Memorial Day weekend. Just dreadful weather.
So you stay inside at a place like Ventnor Social and just drink your sorrows away.
You don't have to drink your sorrows away. You come and say, hey, you know what? It's not very nice out, but this is a great place to be. I'll tell you what, if you haven't been here yet, the first walk in, when you first walk right in, you'll see the Barclay Wall behind us. That is the premier wall in any establishment in South Jersey. You go back towards the bathrooms where they have all the video games and all the stuff for the kids. The bathroom wall back there has
Fanatic,
Philly Fanatic on the wall. And they got great decor in here for all the games tonight as well. Spurs, Pistons. We'll recap that. We'll recap the show. We'll get our final thoughts. That's all coming up next. right here from Ventnor Social, 6417 Ventnor Avenue in Ventnor. All right, getting ready to get out of here. Ventnor Social will be back here on June the 4th and July 29th, and we'll be giving away the trip to Baltimore. I know Tall Vince is walking around one last time. One final call to see if anybody wants to fill out the forms. He's got a bunch of people in there today that filled out the forms. Thanks to everybody who stopped out here and said hello, came on by. By the way, Jack in Cape May Courthouse texted in on the White Horse RV text board. He said it's starting to get dark down in Cape May Courthouse as well. We're in Ventnor. It looks fine.
Yes, and June 4th, by the way, that's Phillies Padres at the bank. So Nick Castellanos will be making his
day baseball with
return.
Nick Castellanos. What time is that game?
1:05.
1:05 start, June 4th. That's the next time we're back. And then, by the way, also in the month of June, later on in the month, I believe June 17th, will be our first live Phillies watch party show. We'll be in Cape May County, Jack, down there near you. In Wildwood, we'll be at Urie's.
That is correct,
like we
Mike.
were last summer. June 17th. And then we'll be back here on July 29th. And we'll be at Urie's a handful of times. I think 5 times this summer. You can check us out in Cape May County. And then before you know it, the football season will be back, and we'll be back at Fanatics.
We got OTAs next week. We got training camp coming up this summer.
What else we got on the text board, Josh?
Yeah, James in Delaware had a question for you, Mike. He says, would you trade Paul George or Joel Embiid for either Jaren Jackson Jr. or John Morant?
I like Jaren Jackson more than I like John Morant. What an unbelievable fall from grace he's had.
Man. Was he a second overall pick, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but he started out like
he was incredible.
Great.
Yeah, incredible.
And he is just completely can't shoot the three. Had some off the court problems.
A lot of off the court problems.
Yeah. Can't trust him. I don't take John Morant. JJJ, I would be interested in him.
The other question he said is, what about an Embiid for Rudy Gobert deal?
I would do that trade.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what Rudy Gobert's contract's like.
It's fat. It's big. It almost matches.
It's interesting that was brought up because one of the guys they're interviewing is the guy from the T-Wolves who gave up 5 first-round picks for Gobert.
Well, think about some of the trades that have happened. You got Desmond Bain. Well, we had Sixers Adam on yesterday, and he talked about the trade packages. Desmond Bain, Rudy Gobert. There was a couple other ones where he said, think about what these teams, Mikal Bridges, gave up to get these players. How much could you get if you traded Maxey? 5 first-rounders for who got 5 first-rounders for them? Was that Bridges for 5 or 4?
I know Gobert got either 4 or 5. Bridges got...
Bain got 4, so. All right. Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. That's it. Busy show today. Phillies lost. They've lost 2 in a row. They're off tomorrow, but we are not. We are back tomorrow. We want to thank Ventnor Social as always. And thanks for all the people who stopped out and said hello today. That was really cool. We had a lot of people out here who came by and said hello to us, so appreciate them and appreciate everybody listening on the radio and watching on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel.